supposed to be on the moon. I just saw it on TV.
Oh, there's a tape delay and with all solar winds.
Supposed to be on the moon.
Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork.
Don't see the curvature of the earth. That stuff is flat.
Globebusters taking over. Bye bye moon man and rover. NASA so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is. Globebusters taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster. But the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is. Get the shovel for the space hubble. Piecing up the puzzle. Need to bust your bubble. Evil gonna crumble, yeah? Sit down, be humble. Got the ball, you better fumble. You'll get mad, cause at this fight I'm about your uncle.
And then they call me the liar. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable the pathetic techniques that they have to use to prove their heliocentric model.
Vibes at the president, Jeran got the evidence. Arrow slaying Jesuits and Zack is evident. That the earth electric and it's resonant. Your residence is heavens and I hope to settle in like some sediment. If we so wrong, why they lying to discredit it? That's not too intelligent. That's a guy, not an in court, but we ain't really in the settlement. It's time to awaken from the pseudoscience sedatives.
Globebusters taking over. Bye bye moon man and rover. NASA so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is. Globebusters taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster. But the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is.
Inner World Productions.
And welcome everybody to Globebusters, Leveling Beliefs. I'm your host, Bob Xanadude60, and we have a great show for you today. First up, we have, and I have to say it myself, probably one of the best, if not the best flat earther that there is, joining us, Jeran from Jeranism. Jeran, how you doing? Doing great, Bob. Thanks. Welcome to the show, everybody. Glad to be here. And no, I'm just kidding. Bob's not here. Bob is not here. I am taking his spot, and I will be hosting the show. So, welcome everybody. We've got a pretty full panel. We got no Kyle today, but we do have the others, and we'll go ladies first. We've got joining us fresh off the Flattoberfest is Karen B. Karen B, what's up?
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Good, glad you're here. And we've got also Austin Whitsitt from Whitsitt Gets It. Austin,
how's it going?
Doing great, doing fantastic. Hey, you were on Caleb's podcast. When was that? I haven't heard it yet. This week or
maybe a little over a week and a half ago or something like that. It's on his website.
Okay.
The first hour is free. I actually got like 3,000 subs after that.
3,000 subs on your YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Wow, really? Nice.
Pretty crazy, yeah.
That's awesome. And so, what do you know the website offhand?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm sure it's
I'll get it and say it out loud.
Yeah, get it so we can all watch that. That'd be good. And does he
it
do
was
the podcast with the other guy too?
Yeah, it's him and other guys. It was a good interview for sure.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. And the other guy is the guy that also does TikToks. I can't think of his name right now, but he's good too. Awesome.
Yeah, they're both super cool. They're I think they're like they represent the younger wave of flat earthers.
What are their ages? Like lower 20s?
They're in their 20s, I think. Yeah.
Sweet. Yep. If you don't know, yeah, because it's kind of taken off on TikTok. Like we said, it's kind of reminds you of YouTube back in 2015, right? So before they were shadow banning everybody, it was being spread, and that's when it was really taking off. So the same thing's kind of happening at TikTok, although they've started to kind of crack down on it a little bit, it seems like, and kicking people out in their accounts and stuff. So let's go to
what he said. He said that he got up to 100 and 150 or something like that. Got kicked off 2 different times. He's back up to like 100. And he used to get, it wasn't crazy for him to get like 100,000 views in an hour.
Right.
And now he's like always tops out at 20,000. So
what's going on?
He shadow banned him.
Oh, Derek's the other guy's name. Okay. Derek's it.
Yep.
And then we're also going to be talking about, Dave Weiss just reminded me, we're going to bring up Bryant, good old Bryant, who's now best friends with McToon. Good friends with McToon.
Yeah.
McToon's such a great debater. It's the best debater that there is against flat Earth. If you guys didn't know. So we're going to talk about his video that he came out with where he basically...
Is that the guy who you guys debated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He bought a ticket to the event and he didn't show up.
Well, tell him thank you for the donation.
Right? Thanks for the donation, Bryant.
Brian, if you want to buy a ticket to the summit and not show up as well, temms.live. Austin and I would be appreciative. Don't put in a coupon code either. Just pay the real price, please. Thank you.
Yeah, full price.
And we've also got Iru Landucci with us. Iru, welcome to
Hello. How you doing, guys? Congratulations for Oktoberfest.
Yes.
Thank you.
Seemed like it was a success. Everybody had a good time. So
yeah, it was great.
Nobody got killed. It was great. It's a good thing. And we've got Zack, Good Times from All, is also here as well. Zack?
Hey, Jeran. Hey, everybody. Yeah, that was, in my opinion, the best Flattoberfest we've had so far.
Nice.
And Karen was, I don't want to say threatened, but she was just warned by the owner of the Freemasonic Lodge that this is where Flattoberfest takes place. And what is this I hear about Las Vegas? That's what he came up with.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they love us. They really do. It was great. It was really good time.
I should let them know that the G stands for geometria of their fundamental subjects, and that means measurement of the Earth, and that's why it's in their symbol.
He didn't know that?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't talk to him.
It was funny because a Mason actually won Mark's hat in the raffle. Imagine that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
How dare you guys? Do you all have 33 tattoos now? Or 33 tattooed on you? Fess up if you do.
Yeah.
Austin's got it on his back like a jersey number.
Yeah.
All right. So what we call today's show Leveling Beliefs is, as I'm sure people have known, that if you've been through this for a while, there's probably beliefs that you used to espout that you don't anymore, or things that you used to think were a good argument that aren't anymore. And that's kind of what we wanted to talk about. But maybe we should just start with Bryant, get him out of the way. I think Dave said he's told him to watch the show, so we can go to that video. I think it'd be easier, though, if one of you can show it so that we can actually all hear the sound. Can somebody do that? I'll give you the link if you need, because I think if I play it on YouTube, I'm not sure you guys will hear it. I guess I could try it first. Let me bring that up and try it. Actually, just see if it works. But I'm not positive that we have a little bit of issue when I'm trying to play sound when I'm hosting. So let me try it and see what we can get. Anybody else have anything they want to talk about that came up this week or anything special? No, it doesn't sound like it. Great. All right. Well, we can definitely get to that. And then I've got a couple questions about the heliocentric model, which, because I like to, I want to understand their model completely and totally. And sometimes I get kind of stuck in places like, well, and you can't go ask them. They don't really give you answers. They just tell you to go look it up or something. And no, that's not the things we're asking are not just, you can't look them up in a book. Let's see here where we got him and here. Okay. So Bryant had, oh, now I don't see it. Where'd it go? Here, hold on. Let's find it. And Karen, so is the rumor true that there's no more Flattoberfests, or what is the status? Is it up in the air still?
Well, yeah, I guess it's up in the air, but I won't be next year for sure. It won't be here. It's going to be in the West Coast, on the West Coast. So
nice. People will be very happy about that. I know over here people have been dying to.
Yeah, people have been saying for years they want an event on the West Coast, and there hasn't been one yet that's been further west than I think Denver.
No, unless Dallas is. I'm not sure of the geography of the United States, unfortunately. Which I always think is weird. Like LA is further east than Reno. It's weird. It's just weird. But it is, if you kind of look at a map. Anybody know what this guy Bryant's channel name? Austin, do you know his channel name?
Douchebag? I don't know. I don't know.
I typed that in twice. It's not coming up.
Oh. Maybe it's abbreviated?
Yeah, it's like abbreviated for like fighting flat Earth or something. Or
it's like an acronym. It's like 3 letters.
Flat Earth debunked? Debunking flat Earth? Yeah, DFE maybe.
DFE, I think that's it. Yeah,
I think it's DFE. Let me look it up here. So I'm not seeing my link. And DFE.
And how do you say douchebag without saying it, right?
Douche. Here he is. Kind of. Yeah.
DFE.
It's gonna say that. All right.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look at his. Go to the videos.
Oh, great! Now he's got debunking dirt.
My face is like every thumbnail, bro. Until the last 2.
Yeah, some people have love for us in a very strange way. All right, so look, we're gonna watch this one here. Himawari 8 debunking flat Earth every 10 minutes, and just remember what we had already talked to him about. He brought it up, and if you remember. From his, well, let's see. I don't know if you guys can hear this or not. Let's see. Tell me if you hear this.
Welcome to another edition of Debunking Flat Earth.
No?
Tonight I decided to take a day off from Witsit and
I really
go
love
back
the
to my first
archetypic features.
Sorry?
Of the faces. I don't know if the word in English is archetypic, but
artistic?
Archetypes, they are all this. They have this strange.
Yeah, they kind of do. It kind of looks like McToon.
Yeah.
Can one of you your PC to where you're able to show this and kind of go through it, where we can all hear it, or you tell me if the echo's too bad if I share screens. Let me see, because I don't think anybody else hears it. That's the thing. Let me see. Confirm.
I can share the screen with audio. I know.
Yeah. About Eric and the echoes. Unbearable.
Okay, let's do that then. Let's give it to Europe.
I think we can agree that there is a constant in the universe, and the constant is the Jeranism way of sharing audio.
Yes.
It's always bad.
You want me to kick you out? I have control to kick you out right now.
No, man, I really love. Come on, I'm talking about
Jeranism, bro.
No, Jeran.
Don't you know I went to a Jesuit high school? You have no idea the connections I have.
Oh, Battle of the Jesuit Shills.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, if you bring that up.
I'm going to open right now.
And so we can kind of go through this, and if I have to show anything, I can show it. But
okay.
Again, it's funny because if people are, I draw the line at dishonesty, right? And we said, hey, Brian's a nice guy, but then if he's going to go on here and be dishonest with people, that's when I have a problem. Is why not just be honest? And it seems like maybe McToon is rubbing off on you. So
pretty hard comments where people just like bash and lie about you, me, and Dave. So that's where I'm like, man, you showed your true colors, man. That's sorry.
Okay, right now I am presenting screen.
Yeah, and then see if there's any volume for us there.
Okay, I play the video right now.
Close this.
And hello, this is Bryant Myers, and welcome to another edition of Debunking Flat Earth.
Yep, we hear it.
Tonight I decided to take a.
The audio is good.
Yep, everything's good.
Yeah.
Okay,
let's run with it.
So. I keep playing, or
yeah, you could go ahead and play it from here just to hear the beginning and see what he's got to say.
Day off from Witsit and go back to my first debate and answer an email that David Weiss sent me, or Dirth, and I basically was asking him, it's like, okay, what is your best proof for the Earth being flat? Send me some of your best stuff. And during the debate, the first debate, I brought up the Himawari 8 and the GOES 16, 17, thinking that was like a just definite proof. And I didn't realize a lot of the things that I know now. And they came back at me with all these different things. And so I said I'd look into it, and I definitely have. And I'm just going to go through and kind of demolish everything they said.
Pause it for a second, Andrew. So one of the things he says is that we told him to look into it, and he says he definitely has, right? So if he just comes back with the mainstream opinion of what Himawari is and doesn't address any of what we said, then that's not looking into what we said to look into. You can't just
there's no way he's going to do that, right? I mean,
right. He just goes and basically repeat what he already kind of claimed. And then if you remember, go ahead and press play from here. I think he actually shows it.
Debate. And really show you that the Himawari 8 and the GOES 16, 17, or GOES East-West is literally destroying flat Earth every 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm going to answer all their main objections. So you'll have no doubt that these images from space taken every 10 to 15 minutes, every day, 365 days a year are real. I kind of want to just start with this.
It isn't every day. It isn't. What, didn't they just have like 2 weeks off or something?
First of all, I don't know if you have the same feeling, but the guy in the living room only have a table and 4 chairs because the echo is like being the church. It's like no furniture.
There's no pictures on those walls. No.
No,
he just got a new house. He just moved into a new house because of the hurricane.
Okay. No, I just joking. Yeah. Okay, I keep playing or
keep playing.
Oh, okay.
So this little video clip here, just to show you just kind of zoom in on one of these Himawari 8 images and just show you the amazing detail. It's 11K by 11K resolution. It's the advanced Himawari imager that is taking images in 16 different spectral frequencies. And it puts together these images within the visible band into very vibrant, colorful images. But there's many other images they take and use for meteorology and weather. And you can see an image of the advanced Himawari imager right here, which is actually made in the US. And a similar imager is used in the GOES 16 and GOES 17 or GOES East-West. So it's just an amazing technology that we're getting 11K resolution that allows you to see down to a half a mile or to 2 miles, depending on which spectral band is being taken. And the frequencies that are being used are within the far infrared to the visible. And we're going to see how this comes into play with a lot of the objections that they bring up. So here you can see kind of an example of the 16 different bands that are being taken. So this is not just taking a snapshot. This is, again, we have to realize this is for meteorology and weather. These images are not meant to convince flat earthers that the Earth is round, because we've known this since 300 BC. These images are taken to help, not only with weather, but as we'll see, to help with fire prevention, floods, volcanoes, just all kinds of other things that can be observed from space that can actually save lives. Mm-hmm. So here is just kind of a list. I mentioned a few of them already, but there's just many.
Will you pause it for 1 second, Ariel? Can we play another game, Jeran? Stuff that we want the Globers to stop saying.
Absolutely.
That'd be like a 7-week long show, bro.
We've known since 300 BC blah. Then why were they arguing about this stuff like 100 and something years ago? Stop saying.
Can I say this?
All right.
This is what I want to say about that. Exactly. If we've known since 300 BC, isn't it really, really lame that you're sitting here talking about it obsessively?
How about the fact that if we've known from 300 BC that the first globe that we have is 1492? You're telling me that for 1,700 years, 1,700 years till somebody said, let's put a map on a ball? Seems a little strange.
I just want to know why. How do you rationalize in your mind that it's so stupid and easily debunked, and you've known since 300 BC, and then you're obsessively stalking the content of flat earthers and talking about it? How does that make sense? I don't understand.
And even then, we've already shown that the assumptions made by Aristophanes, if you want to grant that he existed and that you believe that stuff, even though there's none of his papers at all, zero. If you're going to believe that, then we've shown that with a close local light source that the same thing happens. So that means that he didn't prove anything. He incorrectly assumed or presuppositioned something. But to just keep claiming over and over again that we've known, he proved it. Do you understand where anybody who actually looks at the evidence is like, well, that's not true. What you're saying just simply isn't true. And Aristophanes thought that the sun went around the earth. So if he thought the sun went around the earth, but the rays were coming in parallel, then he must have said it was an infinite distance away. So now Aristophanes, this super smart guy, believed that the infinite sun went around the earth in 24 hours. It's not even logically correct.
My favorite analogy you've ever done on this one, Jeran, was that, okay, let's write a book about the 1990 Chicago Bulls and all their championships, but we're not going to mention Michael Jordan in the book at all.
Right. Yeah, because there's people like Herodotus and somebody else that was after him. They were actually librarians at the Library of Alexandria. Again, if you want to grant that existed and that it burned down and took 6 months to burn, you can believe that if you want. But he never mentions Aristophanes once. So this is a librarian that came after him, supposedly the father of geography, the father of all these things that Aristophanes was so great at. And a guy who's actually a librarian at the same library doesn't mention him ever.
He's called like the father of history, right?
Yeah.
Of course, there's no primary documentation. I mean, see, what they'll say, and rightfully so, is, well, it's not about the guy, it's about the methodology or whatever. You can still do it today, which we know doesn't do anything. But what's interesting, it's like, if they lied about that story,
right,
why would you do that?
Right. Or the water going down in different hemispheres in different ways, and everything else that, boats going over the edge prove that the earth is curved. It's like, no, well, now we go out with these cameras and we see that they actually don't, that it was just going away from your eyesight, not actually in reality. So at that point, you need to correct the belief, not just keep saying the same thing. Go find an article, top 10 reasons we know the earth isn't flat. And it repeats the same 10 things that basically have all been debunked.
Exactly. I did that in Discord the other day. I just pulled up the 10 reason article. Yeah. And it's like all really stupid lies.
Yeah. And it's always like 10 reasons you can tell for yourself. And then it's like the pictures on the moon match the pictures that when they went there. It's like, that's not telling for myself. What do you mean? Go look at NASA's stuff and I can tell for myself. Oh, great. That won't ever set you up for deception.
My favorite is how they'll say because of gravity, everybody at the edges would be standing at an angle.
Oh boy, I know
with the ground. And it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, they cannot grasp it. It's so embarrassing. And after we can show just a little bit, I did on my show, showed Simon Dan, who went after Bob this week, and included us. It was a Globebusters episode that he was commenting on. But I had said something in there like, redshift has been debunked, and Bob says, oh yeah, everything I've seen says that it's. And it is it's like the main problem in cosmology right now, the main problem. And he's like laughing at us like, I'm sure it's been debunked as Jeran and Bob say. It's like, no, we don't ever just say, why would I just say that? Like we have evidence that backs it. So I'm like showing all these articles like, dude, these guys don't even know because they just believe what they're told. And so if it hasn't come out in mainstream yet, which it kind of has, they just can't even admit it. And it's
according to Brian Cox, nobody's ever believed that the earth was flat.
That's true. So we have to believe that. Nobody ever. Basically.
Well, yeah, like you said, that like according to they say according to the James Webb data that they have all kinds of problems. There's way too much like helium in the universe, and then the expansion rate isn't evenly distributed, right. And that based on the distribution of galaxies and the formation of them, the intricacies of the formation allegedly back in the day, that it drastically undermines the current understanding of redshift. So this is just like objective.
Right. There's no question about it. So for him to laugh at us, it's so funny because then you go read his comments and people ask like, oh, you really nailed it to them. And this just should expose to you the kind of people that believe in their model. There's nobody who's even using their brain cell one bit. It's just simply go to Simon Dan's channel and laugh at people and make fun of them and say, oh, Bob, thanks, Bob. And thanks, Jeran. Jeran proved interesting. It's like, this should tell us something. If there's anything more obvious than the fact that if we do an experiment or an observation where we're using lasers or we're using mirror flashing and we're going across the water, these guys want to know the water temperature every 10 feet. What was the refraction every 10 feet? Did you look into this? How about the climate? What was the humidity? They want to know everything. But when I do an experiment, if I say interesting, that's proof to them. And that should show you why the globe prevails is because that's allowed in their world, that's allowed to just say anything that even remotely looks like globe evidence is globe evidence. And anything that looks like flat Earth evidence couldn't possibly be. So they'll just keep talking around it and say, I want this data. I want this data. Where's your paperwork? Where's your this? But then like with Bob, if you think any of those guys have asked Bob to see the paperwork or the documentation on the ring laser gyro, no, it's just all it took was him saying it, and they immediately put that into their truth category. So it just shows you how, what an uphill climb we're against.
Dude, I went back and forth to this guy with intricate emails, like freaking novels, bro, like just destroying him. And he whistled past every argument, responded with straw mans and red herring fallacies, and literally couldn't address any of my actual arguments with substantive specificity, got destroyed on every point, denied and nut-oned everything I said, then dropped like 50 different sources. And he's like, okay, he'll just ignore it. So I already know from like behind the scenes that this guy is 100% a futile pursuit. So if you think you're going to have like some type of productive intellectual exchange with him with intellectual honesty, you are not. I have the proof of it, with like 8 different emails. So for me, someone like that is useless. I don't know. I think I literally look at it like they're lame.
Yeah. No.
I don't know. Like that's how I view it. So
well, it's like arguing with a physics book to me. You're not going to get anything across to the physics book. It's going to keep saying the same things, even if you can show where it's wrong or show where it doesn't match reality. You just got no chance because it's just it's only beliefs are in those pages. That's it. That's all it's got. And that's kind of how these guys are, unless somebody changes the pages, then they'll change right along with it. But yeah, with Bryant, I mean, I remember when we first had scheduled it, and Dave told us, I think he's really looking for the truth, and I think and you're just like, okay, so we give him a chance. And then since then, you kind of see him go in another direction, and you're like, okay, he's just falling for the same trap where now I'm on this Globe team, and McToon is the greatest debater that there is on this subject, and he's my friend now, and it's just kind of like, I see where this is going. Go ahead. We'll play a little bit more here, Hero. I think he gets to the point here shortly.
For these 16 different frequency bands that are being taken pretty much every 10 minutes. So again, just kind of take this in all these different applications.
We've already explained to him that the time frame is not correct, and for him to come back and keep repeating it is just him trying to get the gist of the story across. What they tell people, even though we've already informed him that it's not every 10 minutes, that sometimes it takes 25 minutes, sometimes it takes 30 minutes, and we've already told him that, and he just keeps saying every 10 minutes, just like in the debate that we had. He said, and I think he shows a clip of it. I'm not sure if he would show himself saying this, but he says, in the Himawari, which are live views of, and I butt in and say, no, hold on, they're not live. And he goes, well, they're not live, but why would you just introduce it to us as their live views of the Earth? Drop that word from your vocabulary, since it doesn't exist. There is no such thing as that. So
isn't that called lying?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So basically, he's a liar. Okay, he's just a liar. So like, what can you do if someone lies? The same with FED.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, for example, I have here a file downloaded from NASA, right?
Oh, so you have. So if people don't know, and I was talking to Paul on the plane yesterday and trying to get his video that he did on it, and then I went and tried to find that FTP server, and they've taken that server down. So little things like this should tell you something. That they found we found the FTP server that had all of the data in there, and it proved that the cloud data is for the Earth, even when the Earth is half in black or fully black, which means the cloud data doesn't come from the imager, whatever imager that they're claiming it does. It can't, because how is it picking up cloud data through the blackness of Earth from a photograph? Go ahead.
And then doesn't it also have the metadata from the actual blue marble?
Yeah.
Yep.
Metadata built into it
as the foundation. Yeah.
Yep. And they admit that the
it's
cloud
not a
data
picture
is
at all.
Nope.
It's a computer model.
Yep.
That's it.
That's from their website. Yeah. So, must not be a reliable source.
Right. Of course. And the fact that they took it down doesn't say anything. It's
So yeah, if they're taking an image of something, you don't need a virtual image of it.
Right.
I don't have a virtual image of my dog when I go out there and take a picture of my dog. I just take the picture of my dog.
Iru, can you get this switch to this video real quick? We'll come back to that one. Let me see.
Okay.
What are you showing on the screen?
So I want to tell Brian, this is a GOES 5 model cloud at 5 kilometers resolution, downloaded directly from NASA. And they provide all these maps, and they tell you right away. In fact, I can make a citation directly from a NASA employee, telling in your face that this is just computer model. All the weather is taken for from computer models that process a lot of different information and instrument, like the Dopplers, like stratospheric balloons, statistics. But at the end of the final line is a computer model, and here we can hear directly from the horse mouse.
By believing here,
1 moment.
you can almost paint with anything.
You see giant streams of air going across the oceans. You see ice coming and going and snow coming and going over the land. And you can see the greenness changing. This is all a simulation, but a realistic one. It's a little toy world. And that's what we use to try and understand the Earth system. That's how we try and make sense of it all. So is this useful? Yeah, you bet.
Yeah. So again, it's a computer simulation. It's data processes as an image. So you can download the different maps and apply whatever you want. And if you have an 8K resolution static frame in the bottom layer and you put the clouds on top, there is no problem. But that is not a direct observation that the Earth is a globe. In fact, you must be proved that the Himawari is 1 million kilometers parking in L1 zone and blah, blah, blah. And
right. There'd be a lot that goes into that. Hey, Austin, how would you
crazy.
describe personal incredulity?
Basically, like, since you can't wrap your mind around something, it can't be true.
Right. So, I mean, isn't it the same that of these guys saying that, like, I can't imagine it being faked?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing as they want to put that on us and say, when we say, like, oh, that's crazy, I can't believe that. But again, that argument to me is when you're talking about crazy ass distances, like think about the difference between saying people can see 25 trillion miles and we can know what kind of atmosphere is on those planets, exoplanets that are 50 trillion miles away. Like, to me, if somebody says to that, they just dismiss it outright. Like, that seems incredibly unbelievable. I get that. You want to call it personal incredulity, but what makes more sense? That or something like, oh no, guys that wanted to take Doppler radar and quickly transpose it onto a ball and present it to you 25 minutes later. Which one of those is more unlikely? Like, to me, it's like night and day. One is completely.
Well, like, it didn't rule out. Like, see, if they were really out there taking a picture of the Earth, it's just like honest people can see it, liars can't see it. Like, if they were really out there, you know how they present it to people? Yeah, we have live time footage of the Earth, being a ball from space. That's what it would actually be. If they were really out there, you would just have 24/7 live feed of the Earth as a whole ball, like the whole half of a sphere at all times.
Right.
You don't have that. So it's because you have to have a time period or a window, a duration to make the image. So you can cry about it if you want to, but you're just being weird, bro. Like, seriously, it's weird.
And this video we're watching here is Paul on the Plains video, where he's going through and showing you all the data from that FTP server. You'll see on the top there, FTP and NVL, NOAA, saying here all images in the GOES archive are processed and blah, blah, blah. The underlying colored land image is from the NASA Blue Marble Next Generation dataset. So it's not a photograph, what you're actually seeing. Go ahead, Yuri, you can continue. And then what he's going to show here is when it gets to the cloud data is where the fact comes in that it's not real. Is that if it's taking a picture of the Earth and at half the time the Earth is blacked out because of the Terminator line, then you wouldn't be able to pick up the cloud data on the other half of the Earth. But it does. It always has the cloud data because the cloud data comes from Doppler. And he just dismisses it as it's not possible for them to get all the cloud data and upload it to a server. And yes, it is. And he actually talks yeah, go ahead.
Why would that not be possible?
Rewind it about 30 seconds here and then press play from there. Right about 30 seconds. Yeah, right about there. We'll just watch from here.
Like this that are created in the 3D modeling software, the current Doppler weather data over land and the simulated weather over the oceans, and it looks like this. So this particular image is on the FTP server and is date and time stamped with October 11th, 2017 at 11:05 a.m. I just chose one randomly. Notice the image shows you the weather for the whole ball and not just part of the ball that is lit by the sun at this particular time. No Terminator line or anything like that, right? Okay. Now, here's the kicker. Go to the other file folder, which is the images that we get to see and are told are real pictures from space. But what they've simply done is taken the weather map picture of the whole ball they created, and they superimpose it over the blue marble data set, just like they said they did. So what you can see here is the final version of what we're spoon-fed and told is a picture taken by the Himawari from space, like, 10 minutes ago. This is the image from the same date and time, October 11th, 2017 at 11:05 a.m. And you can see that the weather is exactly the same. Watch it closely. There's your weather map comprised of simulated and Doppler radar being used to complete a composite image. They do this with the Discover satellite too. The Epic camera from 1 million miles away, they tell us. Ridiculous. Okay. Now, also notice the final image has a Terminator line added in to try and make it look like a real picture from space, which drives a nail in the coffin of the Himawari because the weather data shows it over the whole ball completely. But they have to add a Terminator line to show the Earth only partially lit by the sun based on the time of day that the photo is allegedly taken. So if this is a real picture, how did they know where to put the clouds and weather on the part of the globe with no sunlight? It's completely dark there. It's all right here, guys. They are faking space. Hey, we all fell for it for a long time with their Doppler radar and weather simulation software, building a current weather picture and wrapping it around a ball in 3D software and pasting it onto a black background like they do with all the others, adding a Terminator line and calling it a real picture from space. Himawari debunked once and for all. This has been
So you get, people like Bryant that didn't actually go and look into anything. He went to the mainstream presentation. Think about that. If you're going to be deceived, well, that's going to be because you just went to the deceiver for the answers to your questions. So when we said look into it, we didn't mean go to the Himawari site and then return to us and say, oh, it's actually 16 bands and it does it every 10 minutes. And go ahead and let him continue there, Hero. Let him bury himself some more.
Within these different spectral frequencies. Now, Joe Rogan has had some guests on his show, and the whole flat Earth topic has come up with him. And I know Eric Dubay was trying to challenge Neil deGrasse Tyson on the Joe Rogan show, and there was kind of all this kind of stuff going on around that. But Joe,
no, wait.
Yeah, time out.
Just 1 second, because it wasn't just a challenge or something like that. Neil backed out.
Right.
Neil was supposed to debate Eric Dubay, and Neil got cold feet and decided not to do it. That's what happened.
Yep. And again,
your story right
he's
there,
bringing
Bryant.
up to Joe Rogan again. Yeah, Joe Rogan also is using Himawari as evidence. And as I showed on my video, he also believes that we are all right now, there's an infinite number of us doing this exact thing in other galaxies and through black holes, but we kind of change it up a little bit and they go off in a different place. But that's what's happening an infinite amount of times. There's an infinite amount of Karen B's right now who have gone their whole life doing the exact same thing up to this moment, but in another universe, she just spoke up right now. And then that's going on in another black hole and so on and so forth. And he'll just spout that off as being true. And we're all supposed to sit here and be like, I believe that. But
yo, if like Joe Rogan's your hero, I mean, that's all I need to know about you as a person.
All right. Go ahead. Go ahead, Hero. Sorry.
So for all you people that have bought into this flat Earth nonsense and continue to leave comments that they don't believe the Earth is round because every photo of Earth is a composite, I present to you this, one of many, many images taken by the Japanese Himawari 8 satellite. It takes full Earth images in high resolution from 22,000 miles above the Earth every 10 minutes. Just the fact that this exists, and yet all these people have been arguing that there are no full images from Earth, from space, should tell you the level of bullshit that's involved in this stupid fucking theory.
So the physicist goes to the MMA fighter?
Fascinating universe.
Yeah, for his
physicist goes to an MMA fighter for his physics.
Teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, all hell the dwarf, right? But what's funny is, dude, just watch his face as he reads it. Because before he read it, when I started reading it while it was paused, I'm like, oh, I like to psychoanalyze them now. They're not worthy of intellectual debate. Like literally, it's like debating a 5-year-old. So
yeah.
Just his face, like he lives vicariously through like the derogatory, belittling tone of this comment from Joe Rogan. And that's because it's actual, I deal with them on a daily. I know what it is. It's actual projection of intellectual ineptitude. So lack of ability or skill intellectually. They project this, and their intellectual insecurity, right? They have like a fragility of ego where they like project it. And so they, in order to protect this as a defense mechanism, they want to like tear down the other person. So like, you know, he just invokes some like 5-foot MMA thumb looking dude as if it's some type of evidence, right? But he's just reading like the basically the derogatory aspect of the comment for like a coping mechanism. So if you watch him, you can see his facial expressions. He's like, it's like building his confidence back up. Like he's confident in his position. It's kind of like this weird psychological defense mechanism. So
and
if you look at it like this, you kind of feel bad for him.
I do feel bad for those guys because I get it. Like if I went to school for 4 years for a subject and that's all I knew was that, then it would be so hard to think outside of that. Because once you do, then you're like, well, do I have to rethink all that I've learned? So you kind of have to, you're looking for somebody just to come along and say, no, what you believe is correct. And then you can see his glee. He just gets all giddy because he's like, yes, Joe Rogan's on my side. If you fell for this absolute nonsense, it's stupid fucking theory. And he's laughing.
Anytime it's presented like it's so stupid and easily dismissed, like they love to run that narrative. Yes. Anyone that's honest, if the earth was a ball, it objectively isn't some open the book, close the book, easily dismissed thing, right? So that just shows you that they're just, it's just dishonesty. I think that it may be issues with melanatomy and it's really bad for your spirit. So that's what I think about mine.
I always use the first one. All right, go ahead.
No, and again, maybe Brian is looking this presentation and remember, Brian, that for example, I am a computer graphic artist, and for example, with only $124, you can download this photorealistic Earth, which has the same features.
I don't know. I can't picture them doing that. I think it's got to be real.
Okay, the same type of quality that you are looking for, and even a little more maybe sometimes.
Wow.
And it's a V-Ray setup. It's an old one. In fact, I have downloaded a few years ago. And here you can have the same type of model, like I said before, maybe with a better quality sometimes. In fact, they also produce the moon in full HD, which is very similar to the Japanese JAXA that supposedly is orbiting the moon, but they never present an eclipse.
And the kind of nonsense that they give us is like when that picture matches what NASA showed us on the backside of Earth or backside of the moon, they say that's proof that they went to the moon.
Yeah.
And people just fail to realize that you're now basing everything off of what NASA says and a drawing of what NASA said.
So, for example, what I did a few years ago was downloaded this and adding, instead of this cloud map, I add in this cloud map moving, and you have the Himawari, for example. What I'm trying to say is that you cannot take as a proof something that you cannot access in the real physical world to examine it. Because in the era that we live, we have really good computer graphics. So it's just a database applying to graphics, applying to computer models, and presented via a web page, which is not a proof. It's just, if you want to take it as an evidence, something that suggests that the Earth could be a spherical Earth, but that is valid because you cannot go there and check the satellite, and you don't even write the firmware of the satellite. You have no access to data, to raw data, nothing. Mm-hmm. So if somebody can recreate that in their home, well,
yeah, what do you think
NASA
they can do on a bigger?
Yeah, you know?
And we know that everything coming from so-called space anyway can only be data. Nobody's delivering film. Nobody's delivering negatives. So it's just data, and it has to be processed by a computer. And we don't have access to that computer. We don't have access to the code behind it. So
why though? Like, shouldn't it? In reality, shouldn't you just be able to go out in space and take a picture? Like,
absolutely.
In reality, you should be able to videotape the Earth.
You'd be able to put a camera on the moon.
Like when they were on the moon, maybe they could have turned around.
Yeah, exactly. What they did on the moon, right?
Just put a camera on the moon and show the Earth in real time, and then you know what? Then you start having an argument when you say, "Well, I'm not sure they could do real time clouds on the Earth." You know, that would be a little bit difficult. But when you're giving them something like 10 minutes, it's very easy to collect data from many different points and then put them onto this ball and then display it for people 25 minutes later. It's almost too easy.
I type in my weather channel and the radar pops up and shows me where the clouds and the rain are and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
This is 2022. now. It's
One
not.
of their narratives they love to pump, like he said this earlier, is like they're not trying to do this to convince flat earthers. They don't care. See, NASA's official page actually just shared a meme that said every time a child learns science, a conspiracy theory dies, or something like that.
Wow.
And what would they be alluding to as it pertains to NASA? Obviously, the Earth and space travel's fake, right? They absolutely do. And so what you would have is you would have an astronaut go out to space, just bust a 360 with the camera, show all the stars, take live footage, do everything we say they can do.
Right.
That's the first thing you would do. It'd be over in 2015 and we would have moved on. But they can't
We'd be
do
flying
that.
over Antarctica.
Right. Where's the? Yeah. Somebody asked me on my show the other day, like, is there a view from space of Antarctica? I'm like, dude, there's not a view of space from the United States. Let's start small.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's all cartoons though on Google Earth. At least you can zoom into a real map. You go to the North Pole and South Pole on Google Earth, it's literally a cartoon.
Yeah, I was playing with it the other day because did you see that there's somebody who does on TikTok how you can't draw a box around the South Pole? It turns it into a huge circle. Maybe I can bring it up and show on. I'll write myself a note to do that. Go ahead.
And I'm going to remind everyone that NCCS is a NASA Center for Climate Simulation, and we don't have any real feedback. For example, I don't know, when some Amazonas wildfires start and it's something huge that you can see supposedly from outer space. We don't have any real data from real events in real time. In fact, nobody ever predicts a flood based on satellite things. Every flood that is occur, it's getting by surprise everyone, or it's tsunami or whatever. So this is all service that you can achieve by Bexel cameras, for example, if I very quickly, but the people believe that maybe the Google Earth things are taken by satellite and things like that, even the 60 bands and all that kind of stuff, when you can divide the image, for example, with vegetation, water, whatever. It's taken from this type of services. This is full service, 24 hours in all over the world, creating all these maps. Like you can see, it's like, oh, it's taking 90 degrees. This must be a satellite. And no, it's just a float of a lot of planes taking that and provide that data directly from the plane, or you can,
or in a
just
balloon,
land the plane and take all the data.
I've seen balloons take those things up there too. That's what's hanging off the bottom of those gondolas. I never knew what that was.
Yeah, you have that is for me, that is why maybe it's so expensive in terms of that they take so much money to lie about satellite, because for provide the real services, you need to pay like how many people involved, how many industries involved on that type of things.
And they don't even know, right? They just think they're sending up these balloons and they're doing work and they're doing observations, but they don't really realize that that's going to be used as data that they call satellite data.
Exactly. So
have you seen the new, I think it's 11,000 megapixel camera? The lens is like 5 feet across, Iru. They're going to be moving it down to Argentina.
Well, no. You are talking about what, Bexel cameras or the
Yeah, this is like, it looks kind of like a camera. It doesn't look like a telescope. It looks like a camera, but it's enormous. Like the lens is 5 feet across.
No,
supposedly, yeah, they're going to be moving it soon down to Argentina, and they're going to be looking out into space with it, and blah 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 blah.
I'm just going to show.
Go ahead. I'm going to wait for that.
I'm going to show real quick the this Google Earth thing. And so can you stop sharing real quick, Iru, and then so you guys can see this, and then I'll pull it back on there. Oops. Is that going to work that way? And then see if you see this, and then we'll go right back to you. Share screen. I don't need sound. Start sharing. So you can, oops. Do you see where did I put this at? Google Earth. And you see the Google Earth? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is what
we are looking, we are watching here in Skype. I don't know in the feed.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's not on there. I have to go share. Thank you for doing that. All right, now people can see it. All right, good. So what this guy was doing on TikTok was showing how you can take this little measuring tool, and this isn't the one I have downloaded on my computer. I have Google Earth Pro on my computer. This is the one that's actually in the web. And you can draw a square anywhere, right? So you draw a square here, and it works fine. You draw a square, and it's going to give you the total area, the perimeter. Okay, great. So you can do that anywhere you want. Let's go here. We'll draw a new one, and so you can do a square. Okay. So he was showing that, and then he said, "Watch what happens when you go to Antarctica." Okay. So there's another square. So now we're going to go down here to Antarctica, and we're just going to try and draw a square around the South Pole, and watch what happens. So we're going to take this, kind of about the same size square as we did before. And when you do that, that happens. So,
What?
yeah, and it's
What is that?
So it won't let you draw a square and get the perimeter of Antarctica. It turns it into a big disc-like thing. Let's do it again. So if you do it, let's go bigger and say we draw the entire Antarctica inside this box. And let's see what happens here. Okay, so that's just weird. That's just really,
That
really
is
weird. And then it gives you like a perimeter of it, and it gives you an area. And, I still think like people always ask, what's the one thing that would prove it to you? Well, if somebody takes a boat and is able to go around the South Pole at the speed that the boat tops out at. So for instance, a certain kind of yacht might be go 20 knots, right? So if we take that boat and say, okay, well, you guys say that this is the perimeter. Let me see if I can you drag this?
I disagree with you, I think. Go ahead, though.
Well, yeah, tell me if you think. Because I'm saying if we drag this line around, and I think that the distance around the south is like, I thought it's 11,000. Let's say it's 12,000, okay? So that means that a boat should be able to get around 12,000 miles in the speed that it would take it at max speed. So for instance, if a boat goes, I don't know what 20 knots is, probably like 24 miles per hour. So if you did 24 miles per hour times 24 hours a day, that boat can do 576 in a day. And then you figure out, after we said 12,000. So 12,000 divided by 576, 12,000 divided by 576 gives us 21 days, right? So to me, like that would be pretty good evidence if you can actually get a boat that does that speed to go around Antarctica in 21 days. The problem with it is that all their boats go look at the world record for the boat that took 100 days to go around. They say it went 4 knots. But if you go look up that boat, the boat does 30 knots. So why are boats going at 1/6 their max speed and winning the world record for speed around Antarctica? The fact is, I think that they're going 50,000 miles. They just
That's
don't know
like NASCAR topping out at 70, even though the cars do 200.
Right. And here's the thing.
They're only going to go 70.
The current down there, they say, is 2 to 3 miles per hour. So the current alone would take the boat at 2 knots, let alone, so the boat only goes 4 knots to break the record. So tell me where we're messing up there, Austin.
Right. All right. So I don't disagree with your assessment. And seemingly, right, like applying pattern recognition, it seems like it could be an ice ring and stuff like that. And if it was what they said it was, they would have already done a bunch of the things you're talking about, and the numbers would add up.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you on that, but I don't think it would prove the Earth's a ball if they were able to allegedly go a certain speed around the continent in the south, because I think there could just be lots of continents. And I think that there could be a continent where you go south from, if you're in the south and you go further south from different places on the Earth, like you might just run into different continents. I don't know.
Good point. Yeah, we don't know.
Like they tracked boats going through the ice. Literally, you can track boats online, right? And they go through the ice and they leave in single file lines. So it's not. It's at least got gaps if it's an ice wall, seemingly. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think that technically that would prove it. If there's a continent out there, it wouldn't prove it. But I do agree. I would love to see them do it. I don't think they can do that. I don't think they can do what you said for the reasons that you said they can't. But the only part I disagree on is that it would prove the Earth's a ball. Like I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, it
I
would
had
take a lot
just
more
seen
than that.
an article, and they said that they found a huge river as wide as like Kansas going into Antarctica, and they were like in icebreakers trying to break their way into it. But they said this river was like the widest river on Earth. Blah 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 blah.
Well, people would
I'll try to find it.
People would get upset at me for saying this, but I really do think that maybe climate change, or at least global warming, is real. It's just on a very short cyclical pattern. And let's say it goes with the sun's phases. So let's say every 11 years that the Earth gets really warm, and what happens is fissures open up in Antarctica, and if boats see them and go through them, they could end up on the other side, a la Iron Republic or anything like that. So what they have to do is they have to convince people that the Earth's getting hot, and then they feel okay with going up there and blocking the sun. And everything they might be doing is to simply keep Antarctica frozen so that nobody can move past it. Because if it starts to crack and there's cracks in it, well, then people could get through there. And if people go down there and see a boat blocking those entrances, that kind of stuff is the stuff that could get back to people. Like, hey, there's a boat out there blocking.
Yeah.
They've got the military out there blocking this fissure, or like you said, a river going through Antarctica.
Yeah, because there are a lot of claims about what they call like summer passages, and that when it warms up, there are little passages that open up. So it might be as simple as that. But I just know that you can track the boats, and you'll see the boats way inland on the ice. So it's obviously not ice there. There are boats going in there and then leaving in a single file line. So I don't know. I think that I know some flat earthers that swear up and down that the whole ice wall thing is a honeypot. And for us, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I don't stake my flag there anymore. Like, as it pertains to the title of the video, that's one of the things I would say is, yeah, I think it's an ice wall. It looks like it is. A lot of evidence to say that it could be. Their data doesn't line up, etc. I would never say that I know for a fact that it is at this point. I think there could just be continents all over the place in the South.
And they make it so it's kind of scary for people to go there. I mean, I think that's why the whole helium ship went down, the whole Hindenburg, is because they knew that if people just got into helium ships and said, let's just go south, let's just go. What's the big deal? If we don't find anywhere to land, we turn around and go back. So they made this whole jet fuel hoax, or the whole idea of fossil fuels, so that nobody can feel safe trying to go past Antarctica to see what's on the other side, because you need to have enough fuel and you need to have a place to land your plane. But real quick, just on this, so there's no reason that the South Pole should be any different on this map than if I go over here and do a square. You think about a ball, it would be the same. So if I can take a square and draw it here, then there's no reason why the South Pole square, like this is going to give me the area of a square. Okay, now it tells me the perimeter, the area of the square. Great. So what's different about doing that where Antarctica is? Why would it be any different? It's the same thing. It's the same ball. You should be able to tell me what is the area and the perimeter of this square. So why would it be any different? So this should tell you something.
Yeah, for sure. Like, any honest researcher that thinks that we went to Mars, but we don't know the specifics of Antarctica is just a loser. They're clearly lying about what Antarctica is, right? I mean, that's why it looks like a cartoon in 2022. And you can't do stuff like this, and you can't zoom in. And there are boats. Whenever you track the boats, I can send you the pictures, but it's in a mountain range. So they just like Photoshop mountain ranges in Antarctica and stuff. It's just a cartoon they made. Boats don't go through mountains. So, I mean, I think it's crazy what's going on there. I just think that one thing's for sure is we should just make sure we do not know, because.
Yeah. But it's anybody who's honest, like, there's no reason we would be flat earthers if there wasn't evidence that was leading us to that. Why would we just be banging our heads against the wall with the stupidest belief that everybody thinks is so dumb? Like, these are the reasons. I mean, these things don't make sense. They don't make sense. And there's nobody who's been able to explain it. So somebody asked me to draw a triangle. So far we've drawn 2 triangles on the Earth. They work fine. But now here, it's going to do the same thing. We draw a triangle here and here. And I'm sure it's about the same area, but these ones are going to, what is that?
What is that, bro? That's so weird.
Crazy.
To me.
Doesn't make sense. And I don't know what. So the area, I'm trying to think. Is it talking about then just the area in this sliver? I don't really know how it would be. No, because like perimeter of a circle. Yeah, see, I don't know enough about math to know what's going on here. Let me see if what we're doing here.
Like, I just continue to circle, but I don't. Yeah, I don't know, man. See, I know a baller would just say, well, yeah, Antarctica's not like intricately mapped out. It's too dangerous and blah blah blah. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
What is Dave? Dave says, draw a square and just grab the edge of Antarctica in part of the square. That doesn't make sense, Dave. Can you help me out here? Draw a square, okay? And then you said grab the edge of Antarctica. You can't grab continents on Google Earth, so you can't grab the edge of Antarctica. I don't know what you mean. Draw a square next to Antarctica, or just part of the shoreline of Antarctica is in the square. Okay, I can do that. So you mean like here, do a square here, but just have part of, so like this, you mean kind of like that? Huh.
Wow.
So weird.
That is wild.
That's weird.
Nothing funny about Antarctica.
Nothing
that place is untouchable, man. You can't even try to figure out.
It's like there's a force field that's like pushing all these
Does
lines
it do
away.
that on the North Pole too, or just
Good question.
Antarctica?
See, I have not even tried it. Let's go look at the North Pole. Good question. Didn't even think about it. So let's go see what it does at the north. And now, how weird would that be if it doesn't do it here? I'm assuming it will. I'm assuming it has something to do with square, triangle. We'll do square. Let's see what happens if we do a square like this. Should encompass it. Let's see. Oh.
What is? But we know that both these places are lied about.
What are these things? What is going with?
Whoa. So you can grab the where you marked it and drag it around. You can make crazy art with this thing.
That is so weird.
Why would it?
Whoa.
Like a Fibonacci spiral now.
So weird. Now I'm tripping. What is that? What is that all about?
Yeah, what a coincidence. Two places we say they
I saw the caustic too, and then I also saw like the.
That is so weird.
Yeah, that's the coffee cup. Dude, how isn't it a convenient coincidence that it's the two places flat earthers claim they lie about?
Right, and then we also say that a lot of people say there's a vortex going on at the North Pole, and that there's a hole there where water goes into the Earth. It's crazy. I mean, I'm not saying that's true. I've never been there.
There is a vortex.
Yeah, I've seen enough to think that there is myself. That's crazy. Let's see if we do the same thing there with the triangle. See if it does the same thing. And guys, you can do this. Just go to Google Earth. I'm on the web-based one. This isn't like the one you download or anything. In fact, I think I tried it with Dave Weiss on the one that you download, and it doesn't do that. But you can't also draw squares on the one that you download. What is this? It's like a force field. Get away from here. Fly over here. That is, and yeah, if we're right down a little bit south, let's just say if we do it in Greenland, it'll let us. Now, if we draw a square here, this square will let us do. It's going to give us the area of a square. But it pushes that edge away from
Devon Island.
This is cool because now we know exactly where they're lying about, kind of like, in my opinion. Like, this is where it's not mapped out properly.
Isn't Thule Air Force Base in the north of Greenland up there, supposedly?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, up here somewhere. Huh. All right. Well, that gives us something to look into, definitely. And I'm trying to think of why it would circle this line. If it doesn't do it on a straight line, I mean, what if you do like if you go like this, just with a square like this, little square. I just want to see, what does it do with that line? What the hell? I don't really get it. Why would it do that? All right, well, I can't figure it out during the live show. So, Iru, go ahead. I'm going to give you I'm going to play with this and do little spirographs. And
maybe because they have a flat map that they've wrapped around a ball.
How dare you? There's only such things as flat maps that come from balls.
This began, the anti-vaccine movement was very
What's that? Who's talking?
And this is something
Iru.
through social media that spread.
Somebody
I'm
else?
here. I am already presented.
But you have audio playing, I think.
What is that? Who's audio?
Simulation is a simulation of a coronavirus.
What?
We've been hijacked.
Hold on, let me check if it's on my browser here. Iru, you're not playing something? Let me see if I mute. Tell me if it goes off here.
Curiously, who is there?
Iru's muted too, but it doesn't matter if he's muted. It'll be coming through his browser.
There we go. It stopped.
There you go.
Whoever stopped it.
Okay. We're back. All
Okay.
right. Yep. Go ahead and continue on with our good buddy here.
Okay.
Folks, but this ain't one of them. Google is your friend. So I just love this post, and it caused quite a stir within the flat Earth community. And of course, it just got all this pushback. But anyway, he's right. The Himawari 8 is a flat Earth killer. I mean, destroying the flat Earth every 10 minutes, absolutely annihilating it. And so it's just, I just find this humorous. And it is worth noting here, I just want to bring this up. Go over to my friend MC Toon's channel, and if you haven't subscribed to his channel, MC Toon Live, and definitely subscribe. But he recently did a video challenging, because evidently Bryce Mitchell, along with Shaquille O'Neal and who else is a well-known flat Earth, Bob the Rapper, Kyrie Irving. I mean, there are some prominent people that are believing the Earth is flat. But now we got another one from the UFC, Bryce Mitchell, who is basically challenging Joe Rogan to a debate. And of course, Joe Rogan is not a professional debater, so
neither is Bryce Mitchell.
Challenge.
Neither is Bryce Mitchell, dipshit.
Yeah, no, and think about how funny it is. Like, you need a professional debater to debate some UFC fighter with a country accent who says the Earth is flat, like, and you think MC Toon somehow?
Since
like,
yeah,
this
when
guy
is
knows who
MC
that is?
Toon a professional debater himself?
Oh, he says he's the best.
Well,
debater.
since when is it that he has such an inflated ego? He thinks that he's now. He phrased it. I'm accepting the challenge of Bryce Mitchell. That's how he did it on Facebook.
Oh boy,
like, that dude doesn't know who you are, man. Like, what are you talking about?
Oh boy. Okay,
The thing is that with this type of personalities, this guy now found something to do every day. He's
for sure.
fighting flat Earth, you know.
Yes.
Yo, but this is what's funny though. This is what we should really hone in on this. This shows like what they really think. They pretend flat Earth is stupid, right? And really easily disproven. But once this random UFC fighter says, let's go talk to Joe Rogan, let's debate it. They're like, no.
Don't do that.
We need a professional debater. They're afraid to hear someone come debate flat Earth with someone. They're like, no, we need our top tier people that know all the arguments there. Like, they're nervous about it because they know it's not stupid.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
And they can't. And if they know they can't argue it with what they've been taught, then they really have to, they go reaching. And one of the things they reach for is, oh, well, Joe Rogan says this, and this guy says this, and this guy will debate this UFC fighter. And none of those are.
And didn't Joe Rogan debate people on the moon landing nonstop
and did a
forever
complete flip
until he sold out? Yeah.
Yeah, and dude, this was so funny. I learned on my tour, this is what they're deathly afraid of, is like him coming and talking to Joe Rogan, having an honest conversation. When they heard me talking to people in the streets, where they couldn't be there to jump in and spew all the anti-flat Earth rhetoric, and people could just have honest conversations and hear the information for themselves for the first time, they spiral about that, bro. They hate that. That's why they love that we're censored and stuff like that. I think that's the funniest part. They just showed their cards. They're afraid of this UFC fighter going and talking to Joe Rogan. They want some quote unquote professional debater, an anti-flat earther that knows all the lies and arguments, to come in because they're afraid of it just being like a fair, genuine, honest conversation.
And then when you have the debate, you have it on McToon's channel or Fight the Flat Earth, and then everybody in the audience is 12-year-olds who are just in there yeah, dummy. Yeah, we know the Earth is a ball. Come on, it's so easy. And that's all you get. And that's what they want people to see from the outside, because who's going to watch McToon's channel but other 12-year-olds?
Right. Yeah. Or 47-year-olds that should be 12-year-olds.
Yes. Go ahead, Hero.
Because MC Toon is definitely one of the best of the best flat Earth debaters, and challenged Bryce to a debate. So I would love to see that. In fact, he said that that him and FTFE would team up against Bryce and Bryce has got a friend in the flat Earth community. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I would really love to see that.
It just shows what kind of person you are.
Today we're not going to pick on Ritz today. Today we're going to pick on Jeranism and dearth. So I want to first play this clip.
You can't pick on me, buddy.
And he's basically talking about the stitch lines.
Okay, listen.
And again, he's not understanding how these images are made. But let's just hear Jeran first, and we'll get into debunking the heck out of what he's saying here.
Time out.
There's stitch lines. You can see this.
So he says, I don't understand how these images are made. I'm pointing out that there's stitch lines because it's a composite photo made of strips of data, right? Then he says, I don't understand how. So let's listen to what I say, and what part of it is me not understanding how it's made. Go ahead.
Stitch lines inside the Himawari 8. So
Yeah,
they're not.
You zoom in, you see where it's stitched
You
together.
see, they're purple stitch. I can show you if you want.
Listen to Bryant.
Yeah, zoom in. Someone zoom in.
He actually then says that, oh, he didn't know there were stitch lines. So this is projection. It's him who didn't understand how the ball was made. Not me. I'm the one who was telling him how it's made. So he just projects it on me and says, let's listen to Jeran. He didn't understand how this photo was made. No, Bryant, you didn't understand. You thought it was a full photograph of the Earth. We're the ones who introduced the fact to you that the stitch lines are there because it's composite data. Now you're just going to switch it like you always knew that. It
can just lie.
Yeah, it's just strips of data. And of course there's stitch lines there because it's not a full picture. Well, you're the one who was telling us it was a full picture, not me. So you can't just project and call me confused when it's clearly you who didn't know how it was made. In fact, I'm the one teaching you about it. And then you turn it on me, then I didn't know? I mean, these kind of people disgust me. Go ahead, here.
Yeah, I usually always like to say thanks when someone teaches me something, not then turn around and say, hey, look what I just taught Jeran.
Right. He didn't know how it worked. I'm pretty sure we can listen to you. We can listen to your voice here.
Can you see this? Let Jeran bring it up. Can you see my screen now? That's your screen. So this is Himawari's live. I'm just going to find it.
Okay, so now the first debate, I have to admit, I wasn't aware of exactly how the Himawari images were created. But certainly after this first debate, it was an eye-opening experience for me because keep in mind, this was me a total of 6 weeks into Flat Earth, like just studying all their points.
Okay, time out real quick.
These guys have a combined...
He's about to make a claim that we have a combined 20 years of experience debating Flat Earth, and he only has 6 months. Does he realize that if we added up the amount of years of experience that all of us Flat Earthers have, and then added up the years of experience that every single scientist has, that we could make the reverse and it'd be so much more of evidence? Like, that's not evidence of anything. He's like saying, oh, how am I supposed to debate against these guys when they have 20 years of experience? Yeah, so how are we supposed to debate against all of scientific backing? Just so you know, that's why
billions of years.
Yeah,
so if I study
Neverland, he's got
Neverland,
the truth on his side. It
yeah,
shouldn't matter.
exactly.
Right.
When you have the truth, you don't have to defend it. You just say it. It defends itself.
Right.
That's why, Bryant.
And if you've been lied to, then you know what? Some people have to, like we talked about with the finding out you were adopted, that it's not then okay then for somebody to say, well, who's your real family? And you're like, I don't know. I've been lied to. Give me a chance to explain to you why I think we've been lied to. They won't even listen to it. They're like, well, how does the sun work? How far are the stars away? I don't know. Oh, then we can't believe that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, how tall is your real dad?
Right.
Dude, don't know my real dad yet.
Well, then we're not believing it. Then well, that's not my family. I have evidence to show you I've been lied to. No, it doesn't matter. Not unless you can have the real truth in front of me, then I'm not believing that you've been lied to. It's the dumbest.
You're stupid. There's a whole entire community of people that think that's your dad.
Well, go debate McTunan. McTunan will debate you about your dad. All right, go ahead.
Total of over 20 years of responding to these points. So I didn't know I really didn't know what I was getting into. And on top of that, Whitsitt wasn't supposed to be talking, and he ended up talking.
Time out a second.
Why would I be there if I wasn't supposed to be talking?
What does he think? Whitsitt is there for moral support? He wasn't supposed to be talking. Like, that was a rule we came up with at the beginning. All right, so everybody's going to debate against you except for Whitsitt. He's just going to sit there and look pretty in the corner. All right?
Yeah, I totally agreed to come to the debate and not talk, bro. That was the
Is this
agreement.
because of the infamous "I don't want to talk to Austin anymore" line
Of
that he
course.
threw out?
And I've since then have just ruined his life and emails too. So he doesn't like me.
Let's go. You're not supposed to talk. How dare you?
Story for another day. But
Another
just
story
getting into
for another
Jeran's Stitch idea, let me just play this little animation. You got to understand how the advanced Himawari imager is taking these images. It's basically scanning, and you can see it right here. It's scanning through 20 lines here, and this takes a total of 10 minutes. And you'll notice that it's scanning doubly in certain areas. So it actually, because it's a Japanese satellite, it's going to scan a little bit more up in Japan. And if there's any like hurricanes or any weather anomalies, it might scan. So it leaves some room. And the
It
Go
takes 10
16
minutes, but
and
the
17
clock
does
on the
this
bottom was
too.
2
With the
minutes
Go
and 40
16 and
seconds. He said it takes 10 minutes, but they just showed it done in 2 minutes. It's like, okay. I guess it takes 10 minutes to do what you just showed us.
17
Quickly,
will
go ahead.
scan the U.S. And that's why it takes 15 minutes with the Go, is because it's doing more additional scanning. And if there's a hurricane, like say Hurricane Ian, it will be scanning that much more frequently to give. And again, the more frequently it's scanned, the more you get more up-to-date sort of animations, as far as the animations become more real and more dynamic.
So it's not taking photographs then.
So these flat earthers, they just think that there's just like a big Kodak camera up there or something, just taking a full Earth image. And so they'll use these photo forensics software tools. They'll say, "Oh, look, it's a composite. You can see over here, it's a fake image," not realizing how the imager is actually taking the scans. And again, you got to remember, these are weather satellite. They don't care about what flat earthers think about composites or whatever. But they're cleaning up they're combining the colors in the color spectrum. They're doing other interesting things in the other spectrums.
And that's proof of
they get a whole
we don't have
bunch
to
of
listen to this
different
anymore if you
images
don't want
that have applications to different things. And they will even clean up these edges here. In fact, I took a recent image of actually today's Himawari 8, and I put it in photo forensics, and it's not this choppy here. Actually, they clean it down, but you can definitely see the cropping there. But just because there's cropping doesn't mean that it's fake. I mean, these are real images.
These are real images because I say so. They're real images because they have to be, and I'm not going to accept that they tell us that they are and they're not. Again, you
And
can
I
just,
love how he said, and they get more real.
But again, that doesn't mean that is a fake
Right.
image because it's a little choppy or whatever.
No.
But that doesn't mean either that the Earth is spherical and that images are real from outer space.
right. If you're going to claim,
Yeah. He started by saying it wasn't cropped, and now he's saying, oh, just because it's cropped doesn't mean it's not real. So,
Of course,
you're crushing.
and that is why if I enter right now into the summaries of the 10 proof in Wikipedia, the first one still is the ship disappearing in the horizon, because when you study the Earth, you cannot go to these agencies because you are not controlling, have access to the physical equipment. So you must be keep grounded. You must keep the foot on the ground and make observations on the horizon. Because of course, this is just a computer graphics images. So could be fake. Could
but
be digital.
you can't say it's
could be
debunking
fake, yes,
flat
of
Earth.
course could be fake.
There's nothing about it that's debunking flat Earth. That's the whole point. So when you bring it up in a debate and we go back at you and say, no, hold on, it's not live. There's a delay. What we're trying to explain to you is, do you understand that it can be something that could be easily used to fool us? And when you have people like you going around and claiming that it's evidence, then what do you think people like us who know that it's not think of people like you? It tells us that you're grasping for straws. You're just grasping.
It's so
what's funny?
watching them sit there and like go on and on and on about, oh, how useful the images are for this and that. And he's like, it's like, who are you trying to convince, dude? You
Right.
just try. It's like he's trying to convince himself to keep himself brainwashed into that globe belief. Like, I'm going to sit here and think of every excuse I can to defend this nonsense and just keep going on and on about it until I feel better about myself.
And
that's all it is.
Exactly. That's what it is. And like, dude, what's funny is it's this simple. It all boils down to this. He equates winning the debate to going and learning the official story, memorizing it, and then regurgitating it. And when he says it to you, he says it as if he's teaching you. So to him, winning the debate is nothing more than, oh, I didn't know that. Let me go read the official story, and now I win the debate.
Right.
He doesn't actually intellectualize the conversation or the intellectual point and then weigh out which one has more merit. It's just regurgitate mainstream official story. That's literally all his brain thinks. So
Yeah.
like, it's
That is what we get as a result of the Rockefeller indoctrination system in this country.
Yep.
This is why you should homeschool your children. This is why I'm homeschool my children, because I don't want them to grow up and spew the same bullshit this guy is.
Right. And then think that they're smart because they got a diploma that they can memorize it and repeat it. It's like, we know those things are true when it comes to education. Like, everybody says it, right? You're not smart just because you can repeat what you were taught in school. That doesn't determine who's smarter than somebody else. And yet that's what they base all their levels of intelligence on. Who can, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, he can repeat these things. He got a PhD in astrophysics. Great. Well, then we know that he's just good at repeating the lies that are given to him. Doesn't show anything. Doesn't show any intelligence at all. And they talk about peer review as the end all be all, right? That's the best way to, well, no, peer review is simply protecting your current beliefs. They're not going to allow anybody to come in with completely different beliefs and present their papers because they're just going to get dismissed. You can only operate within their current paradigm or what they currently.
Ironically, that makes you the one that's stupid.
Right.
Like, to put it bluntly, you're the one that's intellectually inferior.
Yes.
Sorry.
Because I don't have the exact memorized thing. I didn't memorize or regurgitate it, even though we know that that's not. I mean, again, parrots can repeat what people say. That doesn't make parrots impressive.
Well, I can memorize it. I can go look at the official story, memorize it, and that's why I know it's not true. And so, ironically, if that's as far as you can go, is not being able to understand, just regurgitate. And then if you think you get to the point, it's why math is a good spell too, because when people finally learn how to make a mathematical equation work,
right,
they get so proud of themselves that they understood how to make it happen that they think they're smart. This is what dumb people do.
Right.
People that are actually dumb, they conflate intellect to ability to understand whatever they're told. And this is what he's doing. So.
Done on purpose, right? I mean, they set it up that way.
It's a beautiful spell. I mean, not beautiful, but impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he was saying to you, Austin, can't we agree that the Earth's electric field falls off at 1/r²? No.
We literally
you
can't
understand
agree.
that, Bryant? It's linear. It's 100, 200, 300. It goes up 100 volts per meter. for a very long time. So that's not 1 over r squared, not even close.
Yeah, they went to talk about
that's
like over 50
yeah.
miles.
Yeah, and that's a simple equation that, many flat earthers comprehend and get. Inverse square law of light, this is the same thing, 1 over r squared.
So what are we supposed to believe when these guys go around calling us liars while lying? It's like it doesn't make, or doing these straw man arguments against us where, these guys believe in this disc in space. And it's like they can only debate with name calling us liars, calling us grifters, saying things that are just completely untrue like that. And then projecting, we don't straw man the flat earth, the globe earth belief. There's nothing to straw man. We're actually arguing against what you truly believe. And you guys can't handle that.
Yep.
It's insane.
In fact, you called the accurate representation straw mans because you're straw manning the globe to try to make it more acceptable. Like when I teach them about relativity, it's like I have to teach them about relativity. They argue with me. I show them Einstein. They argue with me about that. I pull out relativity. The only ones that straw man anything is the globe earth. They straw man the globe and the flat earth. So right. It's almost exhaustive where it's like, we should just make flat earth comedy or something. And
move on.
What I'm saying? Like, there's no way to win with these people.
No. And it's like, you are just banging your head against the wall because they have no desire to learn the truth. To them, the truth is whatever they're told from science. So there is the debate is kind of futile because there's nothing you could ever possibly say that's going to make them change their mind at all. They just, like you said, they'll
with
just
downward
go look
acceleration.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
With downward acceleration, like little g, I'm like, I can easily solve for that. It's a kinematic equation. You have initial velocity, height, and time. And these variables are actually provable. You can verify the height of the object, the time it takes the object to fall, the initial velocity being 0 because you picked it up before you dropped it, right? I can verify those variables. So I have an equation that can mathematically give me the constant of downward acceleration, which is not literally constant, but it helps us with some mathematical purposes. And like I can verify all those variables. So that's legit because I can go verify it. Yours requires the radius of a ball that you can't verify and masses that you can't verify. So mine is more accurate as a depiction of reality because it can actually be verified. And for 3 emails, he can't acknowledge that point. He says, no, I need you to explain why. I'm like, so you won't address the actual point. So I don't know. To me, what I found is you don't really have to know what to think, just know how to think. And you can destroy any glober any day because, you can ask any glober, can you present one globe evidence void of fallacious reasoning? And they can't answer that. No one can answer that. I've asked everyone you can imagine, all kinds of credentials. So, it's just simple, man. It's like, they don't want to know the truth. That he's not in a position to see the truth, not even close. He's getting worse.
Right.
Dave was wrong. Dave was wrong with his assessment.
Bad assessment.
He told us that. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have the eyes to see, and it would be useless. So it's like I think most flat earthers know that, but it's much more about talking to people that have eyes to see and helping them see the info. There's so much info that they need to learn. You can't waste your time with someone who literally can't see it, like you're speaking a different language to them. So the Messiah could float down himself and say, Bryant, you're wrong about the earth. And he'd say, no, you haven't seen Himawari. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't argue with them.
You're way off. How could you possibly? Either we could just move over to the Simon Dan video if you want. I can find it.
Okay.
Because I don't want to watch the whole thing. He's got another 20 minutes of that thing. But again, so sometimes I just chalk somebody up to being gone in my mind. And, that's where Brian is now because he's just going to continue on lying about us. That's his only thing. So, I haven't even watched his latest
he's
video.
Hanging out with liars.
Right, exactly. So and he calls them great debaters and they're good guys and he's my friend. And okay, well then, good luck coming back on my show or thinking I'm going to talk to you. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't remember.
And that loser Fight the Flat Earth still trolls my website. Like, I put meetups on there, and he'll go and he'll post comments. I have to approve the comments that show up on my website, so I see them all and I just delete them. But he'll be on there, talking shit to the people who are trying to meet up at these Flat Earther events, and I'm like, God, you have no fucking life.
Who, McToon?
You're
right?
on here. Yeah. No, Fight the Flat Earth.
Tight shirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they literally don't have a life there. Yeah.
Literally no life. You're over here commenting on the comment section of the free meetup section of my webpage. Like, that's where you're at, dude.
Yeah, it's funny. It's almost like you should feel bad for them, bro. Like, they have no life. If the narrative they pumped is true, they would, the last thing they would do.
These people.
And Karen, I was
They would never
mean,
obsess over flat Earth. Yeah.
Karen, who called
most of them, I don't believe they're being genuine. They know that the Earth is flat.
I think a lot of them literally don't. You might
I don't
be
think so.
underestimating delusion, but that's my opinion. I think that atheism, materialism, selfish, egotistical pride, and dishonesty will do a lot to blind a person where they're basically fighting with themselves out loud.
And I think most of these people are former religious people. I think they would never let you know that, but I know for a fact Red's Rhetoric is. Red's Rhetoric's parents are very religious. And so when you become disillusioned with religion and you turn your back on it entirely and start making fun of people that are religious and you go that direction, then you just can't find your way back. You don't want to find your way back because it means you will be held responsible.
See, I did though. That's the thing.
So did I.
did.
You gotta swallow pride to do
I'm
it. though.
different. Yeah, true.
You gotta swallow pride to do it. Like I had to do. I used to bash so many because I was really.
I had
like,
a lot of sorries once I came around. I was like, oh man, I owe you guys.
Yeah, I
some
bashed so many
apologies.
people, dude. I thought I was so smart, bro. I'm like, yeah, 42 in religion. You're just right, man. Yeah. You need your little get out of jail free card. I get it. You know, I used to talk crazy to people, and now I, most my worldview. So it's like, I don't know. I just think it's a different limits of people, man. Like a spectrum of people. Some people cannot walk back and keep learning. They think they already know everything, and it's all good. It's like I said, I started looking at them like children, where it's like this is a cry for help.
Yeah.
Right. And when you look at it like that, he's crying for help and he's projecting onto you because he's arguing with his own like internal conscious out loud. Like Karen B nailed it. He's trying to convince himself. And so like when they do that, just kind of look at them like children, like, yeah, little Timmy, just don't go play in the road, like that's all there is to it, man.
All right, I gave you the other link if you want to Simon Dan. And
yeah, give me the link.
Yeah, we could just play that real quick just to show that again, the laughing, and then you see everybody in his chat that they don't understand. And this guy, by the way, look at right there. Stay right there. He's reading a teleprompter. It couldn't be more clear that the teleprompter is sitting to the upper right. He's not looking at his camera. The teleprompter's off to our left, his right. And you can watch him and then watch all these cuts. He literally cuts every sentence. So he can only read a sentence off of what he's supposed to do and then cut, which is press play to watch this. The cuts are ridiculous. I would never do this. Like we all get on our show and we perform live. We're doing live content for 3-4 hours. This guy's never done one live stream ever. Oh, nice. Demon. Give him the horns too.
And the spherical Earth, like Argentina here, Mexico there. Okay, I'm gonna give it a play right now.
Yes.
If you have been watching this channel at all, then you will absolutely know who this guy is.
A 15-degree-per-hour drift.
Thanks, Bob. Well, it's been a while since I looked at one of his videos, so I decided to sit down, load up the Globebusters channel and trawl through some of their videos. What I found was the Globebusters reviewing the images from the James Webb Space Telescope, and it was an absolute circus.
Iru, have you seen this yet? He makes fun of you because
no.
He says like, oh, and Iru, and you're totally making a joke. You make a joke that you're like, Bob, no. The things in space, they're better than heaven. They're better than paradise. They just go forever and they never stop. And then he's like, see, Eero knows what's going on. It's like, no, Eero's joking. He thinks you're being serious.
Okay. I invite him to take a coffee and give it.
He will not do that. Live?
About live.
No. He won't do it live. Sorry.
Never happened.
Not
Never
going to happen.
Never.
Okay.
Or you can skip past his little intro a little bit. And then even people in his
hello and welcome along to another.
Look at him read. He's reading a teleprompter. There's nothing more obvious to me. Yeah. And he has to, he's like reading for his ad that he does here. And even people in his comments, I don't know if they're still there, but there were yesterday, people saying like, dude, you're discrediting yourself with these little things you do at the beginning where he acts like he uses whatever product. Like, I use this product and it's the best for me because it really fixes my gut health. It's like, so obviously you're just a liar. None of us do that. None of us are like, it's so funny. Go ahead.
I've turned down a lot of them actually.
Yeah. Go ahead,
okay.
And watch the cuts.
Another episode of Flat Earth Friday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we begin today, a huge thank you to the sponsors of today's video, Ritual. To support gut digestion.
What are you doing there?
Over here and I saw
the James Webb Space Telescope, and an extraordinary piece of kit that it is. Away we go.
So, okay, so let's watch a little more of this, and then we're getting close to the end of the show here, and I still have one more thing you guys got to see that's amazing, but let's continue on.
5 billion years, about as old as the solar system. But then around this image, you've got lots of other fainter galaxies
Pause
that
right
are
here.
farther and farther away.
I just hope people understand that how dumb their belief is. Like these guys believe that those things that we're seeing there are galaxies, right? That are hundreds of trillions of miles across. That little orange thing there is filled with billions of stars and billions of exoplanets. And how do we have proof of that? These pictures are their best proof. This is their best evidence that those are stars and planets and other worlds, and that they're being that's their entire evidence. Their entire evidential body is this.
Which are suns, by the way, in case you didn't know. So as tons of suns in that little dot.
In that little, orange thing at the top there, kind of like 12 or 1 o'clock, there's hundreds of billions of stars. Okay.
And the coolest part is when
the gravitational lensing.
Yes.
You are forgetting the most important discovery of all, man.
Mm-hmm. Those are actually behind there. They're behind there, and it's bringing them to our viewpoint around the side.
And even the NASA engineers, but artists, what are they called?
Data visualization artists, usually?
Yes, data visual is perfect, Jeran. You nailed it. Yes. They say, I just read an article on this like a month ago, that what they get is a black rectangle with white dots. And then they get a spreadsheet with a bunch of numbers on it over here that tell them what all the colors are and what areas and this and that. And then they kind of do a paint by number how they think it's going to look and add all these colors in. The camera doesn't give us pictures like this. This is drawn in by humans. What the human gets is what the P900 takes, pretty much. It's a black rectangle with white dots. That's what humans get.
Right.
And then they add all this stuff in. This is admitted. They say this.
Totally contrived. Yep. Okay, go ahead.
No, and in fact, something that I really love is how they transfer the Vatican religion to space. Because, for example, if you go and type pillar of creation,
right, of course,
you're gonna have this is the pillar. So if you say someone, well, maybe the Earth symbolically speaking, there is some pillars. You are fucking crazy. But if you put pillar of creation and you see this, no, that's real, man.
Right.
That is the pillar of creation. Then you have, if you type just angel in space, you're gonna have all these. This is official articles that said, for example, this is from NASA, direct NASA webpage. It's feature an angel in space. So they are laughing in your face. They just transfer the religion into the new religion.
All of their missions are named after gods.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in fact, the most there is more than 50 Jesuit names on the crater of the moon, for example.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
weird.
then you have Buzz Aldrin eating, like, the first meal in the moon was ostia. I don't know how to say in English the
communion.
The
host, or whatever.
Exactly.
The communion thing?
Yeah, God's
the
or Jesus'
communion
body
thing, exactly.
Yeah, communion.
And then about what Zack say, the same thing happened with Trappist 1. And in fact, Trappist is a clerical order. So
I didn't know
this
that.
is man, this is a Trappist order.
Wow.
Which in fact is a special order in the church that take care about money. In the Roman Catholic.
So wait, what's the Trappist as it pertains to space?
Yeah, and not
That's
just
what they
that.
call the
that Trappist system they found.
Yeah,
exactly.
Wasn't that supposed to be like the closest Earth-like?
Yeah.
Something?
So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and in fact, they are the official name of Trappist is formerly member of the Order of the Cistercian of the Strictic Observance, and then you have Trappist NASA right in your fucking face. I mean, and if I put the this is what they shown, we have the data visualizer artist saying that because the official, the actual data, this is Trappist 1 in the real supposed. Yeah, man, this is the Trappist
This is TRAPPIST-1.
I believe in pixels.
Kepler.
I do believe in pixels.
And here you have a GIF animation, and this is straight from NASA. So
Well, that one pixel looks like you could live there, I think.
I can
maybe.
tell how much hydrogen and how much oxygen are coming off that pixel.
You probably could live there, actually, if you look at it close.
And from
I see
this,
ice.
Yeah, there's definitely ice there.
And from
it
this,
rains
you have
diamonds
this,
sideways.
and then you have this,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have this, and then you have a clerical order.
I think I'm going to
So-
believe what Bryant says more. He seems like he knows better than us.
Wow, dude, that person is very talented to get that from that pixel. They should
Wow,
get promoted.
man, yeah. With a lot of money, you can become a really good artist too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they name all their asteroids after Greek gods and stuff too, right? It's like everything in space.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a religion. Everything is a religion. It's the God particle. You know, everything reminds a religion. Everything, because
That's
it is
crazy.
a religion.
Exactly. Bro.
I don't know if you've ever seen Oh, go ahead. I'll tell you after.
Redder they look, probably the farther away they are. And in many cases, you're seeing galaxies where the light has been traveling for over 13 billion years.
A stunning image, isn't it? Makes you feel awfully small, hey?
To reach us.
Of course it does,
But
Dan.
Light has been
But again, they never discuss the astronomical unit.
Right.
They never discuss that. They never take into consideration that when you go up there 45, 50 kilometers, you cannot see the stars anymore. So what is the astronomical unit? What happened with that unit of measurement?
traveling for over 13 billion years to reach us. Yeah, right. Give me a break.
That sounds very much like a dripping of personal incredulity to me, Bob. You think it sounds ridiculous, therefore it can't be true.
Part that's really amazing is you've got these little arcs that are all around, almost like a circle around this central galaxy cluster. And what this
Skip forward if you want a little
is gravitational.
Let's get past Kate Fraser tubal cane.
And this is the gravitational lens.
So pretty.
Yeah.
So pretty.
Lensed galaxies. So this giant galaxy cluster is sitting in the foreground, and it's acting like a natural telescope lens to show off the galaxies that are in the background. And in this case, those
bending it around, yeah.
Yeah, perfectly, man. Perfect. Amazing. Amazing. How lights travel in vacuum is.
Galaxies are just a few 100 million years after the Big Bang itself. It's probable that the first stars ever formed are in some of these galaxies. So it's important to put things into context here.
Listen to Bob scoffing in the background like it's totally impossible.
Now, when Hubble did some of its deepest deep fields, it would do about 3 weeks of observations on one specific spot in the sky. And it gets even more complex than that, right? Hubble is orbiting around the Earth. Webb, out at the L2 Lagrange point, can do its observations in one contiguous go. And this is 12 and a half hours of exposure from Webb imaging this one region to be able to produce this image. And so
nothing is
not
blurred
only is
somehow.
it a
No, Bob. Nothing is blurred.
bigger, more
I'm
sensitive
confused.
telescope that's cooled down to be able to see these.
I thought the Lagrange point was the point in between the sun and the Earth that is gravitationally neutral. Is that not correct?
Yeah, the Lagrange points are supposed to be like parking spots around the.
But now he's saying that it's on the outside of the Earth. Oh no, or is that a different one? Confused.
Well, there's a few. There's like 3 or 4 Lagrange points supposedly.
Okay.
Yeah, supposedly, yeah. And let me just
please
one more religious thing. I don't know if you know about the new supercomputer simulation that NASA did a few days ago, showing how the moon maybe was formed. This was mainstream crazy astronomers and astrophysicists being super happy and man, look at that. This is the Earth and this is the moon. Okay. Now the thing is that they start saying, okay, you know what? Maybe the moon was created in only one day, like the Genesis said, and not taking billion of years. All this happened in a few hours. So the moon was formed in just one day.
Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, again, they compare with a religion story that in one day was for the luminaries and things like that. So they are keeping, they are trying to match, because they cannot escape from religion. They won't escape from religion.
Well, I was going to say,
that is why
somebody once told me that the scientific method spells out preach, but I was trying to think of how it is, because it isn't what it was. Predict is part of it. Research is part of it. Experiment is part of it. Analysis, conclusion, hypothesis. It does spell out preach.
Well, but now we live in a supercomputer simulation universe, not because the universe is a simulation, but because we are feeding with simulations, and that simulation are like real things. So we are believing simulations.
Yeah.
The professionals believe in complete computer simulation. We don't back up in physical realities anymore.
Yeah, I think like even that crashing of the asteroid thing that they did, all that is done in a supercomputer. I do believe that's where they get the data from. I believe that's where they feed the data from, so that the controllers at NASA think that they're getting real data, but it's all just done in pretend land. But to them, it's real.
Yeah. So let me just get back to here.
These wavelengths that we just can't see with any other telescope, but it's a lot more convenient. It's able to just stare continuously at one target and then move on to the next.
Yeah. So how do they do that, right? So how are they sitting there looking at maybe one galaxy with all these other stars and stuff in the background and not have, I mean, I understand, well, okay, they can focus in and they can track the one star galaxy or whatever that we're looking at. But what about all the other stars? Why aren't they a blurry mess?
Bob, you are totally exposing yourself here by asking this question. These galaxies are an incredible distance away.
Mm-hmm.
The James Webb telescope focuses on one particular patch of the sky. And in fact, it can actually track objects in our own solar system. Now, with regards to your first point, imagine you're driving in a car on a long...
Yeah, you can't even like say the mainstream official narrative with more than 5 words at a time. You're such a genius.
And picture how easy this is for him, guys. If I'm able to talk to you and then look down at a piece of paper, read my next line, look up at the camera, read my next line, look down at my paper, then I just go through and cut out all of me looking at my next line, and it would look like this. It proves nothing. When we do our shows, we're doing them live. We don't have it for 3 or 4 hours. We're talking to you and bringing up our real opinions. This is how you know it's not his real opinion. He's not going to his brain to tell you what he thinks. He has to refer to either the teleprompter, I don't know what he's doing, teleprompter, piece of paper. Otherwise, what are all these cuts for? Mistakes he's making? Go ahead. Why not just let it play? If you're not making any mistakes and you're just talking, then just why do you need to cut it? Go.
Long road, and you're looking out the window. Everything is going past you closely, really, really fast. However, if you look further away at the mountain off in the distance, that hardly seems to be moving at all. Now, let's extrapolate that to the James Webb telescope, viewing a galaxy over 13 billion light years away. It's barely moving, is it, buddy?
Does that make any sense?
Cut.
Unfortunately.
Sorry, I was just saying cut. Go ahead.
So all the other stars in front of it are moving? Is that what Dan's saying?
He's
like
not
the mountain
answering-
doesn't move in the back, but all the blades of grass do in front. So is he saying there's all this parallax that they are seeing now? Or I can't understand what his point is here.
He's not even addressing like camera exposure or how cameras work or anything like that.
Mm-mm. Okay, go ahead here.
No, Bob, you don't make any sense.
Yeah, because it's NASA and Avengers working together.
That's true. Yeah, Marvel.
Now listen here. He
Marvel
thinks you're serious here. Watch.
It's funny that when they don't have a good answer, they just make a joke.
Oh, they've never done that.
But
Yeah, well, hilarious.
he's making the same thing.
Right.
I mean,
he does even worse in like a few minutes. You're going to laugh at him. He's just way off. Go ahead.
Like, my
I mean, yeah,
God.
it would have to be on a perfect, no bumps at all.
nothing.
No bumps? What, you think they're going to hit a pothole out there or something? Come on.
Or a meteorite maybe might hit
Jesus.
the... how many lenses are destroyed now? Is it
No.
2 we're up to?
Not just that, but remember that it was a guy in the ISS presenting the gravity pockets.
Right.
Remember that?
Little
No,
bumps, little
no,
hiccups.
that's for real.
Yeah.
The gravity pocket. So maybe you never know that parking zone maybe has a few
Little bumps on the road.
Potholes, yeah. Yeah.
But then Iro makes a joke about
Yeah,
it.
if you touch your
Go ahead.
camera on a time lapse, it completely ruins it.
Yeah, but you are in the free space. There is no friction. There is no bumps. There is no nothing. It's perfect. It's better than heaven. Better than paradise.
Iro, it seems, knows what's going on up there. Whilst Bob likens the James Webb telescope to taking a time lapse with a camera in your back garden. Amazing.
Yeah, but I mean, they would have to turn it to keep it facing that way. I mean, how does that work?
Turning, dear, oh dear.
No,
How is it
it's
going around and facing in the same direction the whole time? They would have to.
It's not going around. That's the thing about the
I know.
The thing is that if I have the official video from NASA because I was following the complete hour, which is a nightmare, which was a nightmare. But they show you how they post-processing the images. So of course they tell you that there is aircraft, how you name that, like scratches and then articraft, something like that. Like I cannot pronounce well in English.
Artifacts, okay.
Exactly. And they use the clone stamp and they start clear all the errors and things like that and present to the community an artistic image.
Yes, some images are tweaked, some of the colors are changed. But as I said last week or last month, just because that happens, it does not mean that that image in itself is totally fake.
And that it's what they tell you from the NASA official video.
Yeah.
So this is when I have a little bit of time, I want to make a little presentation.
Right there, Eric, go about 30 seconds. Just go about 30 seconds ahead. Maybe 45 seconds or so.
And their job is so easy. And
right
here we are
good.
going, come on, people, pull your head out. Think, how the hell could they possibly see any of this at these unbelievable distances when A, there is no magnifying methodology or facility ever even thought of that could see that far?
Well, the James Webb telescope does not magnify as such. However, it does have an incredibly long focal length, 131.4 meters. Now that is massive. My telescope, which I used to use in my back garden, had a focal length of 1.2 meters. And depending on what eyepiece I used, I could get Jupiter looking quite big.
Get to where he's talking about the expansion of space. Go ahead.
In the eyepiece. Now this impressive focal length on the James Webb Space Telescope is what allows it to see so far away.
Right?
Oh, but NASA said it. It must be true.
It's oh my God. So what do you do?
The government. Trust the government. They won't lie to you.
Kyle Adams is a globebuster now? No flipping way.
I know, but people will defend it. They'll call us retards, right?
I don't know. I just say you're a bit silly.
Because, that's what they do. So, all right, let's watch a couple of minutes of this, and then I want to show you one other thing, and we'll call it a show real quick.
Target, and so it's a lot more productive of a science instrument than kind of any telescope we've ever seen before. Hubble's not the best comparison because Hubble, of course, is able to do near infrared, visible, ultraviolet. It's better to compare to another infrared telescope. In this case, we can compare the image of the same region from the WISE telescope compared to Webb, and you can just see the level of detail.
Yeah, they focused it. Give me a...
Something that amazed me is that how they can aim the same spot in the universe with the telescope 400 kilometers up there and the other one at 1 million
it's amazing.
Miles away.
And
it's
here,
amazing.
They zoom in and then Bob says, oh yeah, they focused it. Yeah, right. And then he comes back and says, listen to what he says now. Go ahead and hit play. So Bob just said, yeah, right.
Break.
So hang on, Bob. Are you saying that this image is legitimate then, if that's your reason? You are saying that NASA focused on it and that's why it looked better. I think you've just let slip there that you do actually believe that it's real.
And people are going to go, ooh,
Bob was making a joke.
Amazing. And
Bob was making a joke. He clearly said, oh, and they just zoomed in and then, and then focused it. Yeah, right. And then he takes that off as Bob saying that it's real. It makes a lot of sense.
He's such a dope.
It's a good deductive reasoning there. Okay, you can press play from here. This, I think, now he gets into
the give me a break
expansion
in the Webb image is just so far beyond. It's really amazing. From a scientific perspective, what's really amazing about Webb is that it can view the spectra of many galaxies all at the same time.
This really is quite extraordinary.
It can do about 100
all at the same
galaxies in a field of view and determine their chemical spectra. And what this is the chemical fingerprint.
More personal incredulity from Bob there.
Of the galaxy. It tells it the distance away to the galaxy, how fast it's receding away from us, but it also can tell you the chemical characteristics of that galaxy.
No,
and
it
the
can't.
astronomers working with Webb
No, it can't.
are just amazed.
Such crap.
Yeah, I've been
Fiction,
thinking about
right?
this a lot. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Okay, so here on Earth, we have certain gases that interact with things a certain way.
Mhm.
So are we going to assume that every gas in the universe, if all that out there is real, that we got a little bit of all of it? That there's no other gases out there that might do the
Right.
same color that aren't,
No, they have
the
to exist
gases
on
we
Earth.
have here on Earth?
They have to exist on Earth for them to exist anywhere else.
Yeah, it's ridiculous to say we know what's up in these places that are trillions and trillions of miles. We've never even sent a craft to these places,
Nor could you
Well,
ever.
let alone been there ourselves.
I would love to ask these people, okay, if I show you, two in this big open field, there's a barrel out in the field. Just standing over here, not going over there and touching the barrel or having anything to compare it to, you can tell me how big the barrel is, how much it weighs, what's inside of it, what's the temperature of it without touching it or going anywhere near the barrel.
Yeah,
Can we do that here on Earth?
Of course.
We've given them so much credit. And this is the problem. We allowed them to just run rampant with their beliefs, and people, just because they don't want to question, people with degrees are afraid to question it. So that's why I think what we're doing is important. It teaches people you can question things, and you can demand evidence for what they're saying. Go ahead, Drew.
All through, say what?
Getting past all of that filtration between you and that, right?
That's right.
People need to realize that if you're talking about something in space, imagine you're talking about something in space and it's moving away from you. Imagine what you would need to have to know the distance it was moving away or the speed.
Here comes some Jeranism physics.
You'd have to know the distance and the speed before that. So if you were ever wrong at any point in your calculations, then everything else after that is wrong.
Yeah,
because
and
they're just measured.
Yeah, and they rely heavily on redshift, and redshift has been basically annihilated.
Yeah, everything I've seen when I've looked into it says that it's something else.
Yeah, totally.
Amazing. All of redshift is wrong because Bob and Jeran have looked into it. Well, guess what, guys?
Listen to this.
I've looked into the mating habits of the duck-billed platypus, and guess what? Doesn't even happen. Totally made up. And duck-billed platypuses actually just...
I don't doubt that he has looked into that.
But let's think about it. So his example is to just make up a lie to you. Okay? When Bob and I tell you that redshift has been debunked, it's based on research. Go ahead and type in redshift debunked. Look it up. It's everywhere. It's the biggest problem in cosmology right now. In fact, they call it Hubble's law, and now they realize, oopsie, it's not a law. They can't measure it correctly. Two different things get you different versions of it. I'm going to just swing this over here real quick to show people you don't have to really see it. Oops.
Yeah, like the assumption of what redshift is renders different values based on what should be predicted based on the assumption of what it is all over the universe.
Right, and it's everywhere. I mean, this is just...
you want I stop sharing?
No, you're fine. I'm just showing... You don't need to see this. I'm just showing people real quick. So these are just, one number shows something is fundamentally wrong with our conception of the universe. And when I read this the other day to everybody, the craziest part about this, and it talks about Hubble and what he thought, and there's a physicist that they're talking to, and this guy Mador is his name, and here's what he likens it to. And when I saw this, I'm like, man, people need to realize this is exactly what it is like. He talks about these Cephids, which are these standard candles they have that they think they know the exact distance to because they flash the same or something. But this guy's talking about how to do what we are told is being done out there is the equivalent of you walking into a horse race, seeing the horses for just a split second in time. So the horses are going to be scattered. And then from that, deducing which horse started in which gate, which one's going to have a burst of energy at the end, which one got a little bit tired towards the beginning, and which one's going to win the race, which we all know is literally impossible. Literally impossible. Nobody could do that. But that's what these guys have to do. They go look at the stars, and then they just make a bunch of assumptions about where they're going, what they're doing, where they're coming from, where they came from. It's all just assumptions. And this guy, he's a physicist, and he's telling us flat out that that's the way it works. I'm trying to find exactly where it is that he talks about it. But, you know, he talks about interpreting these satellite results, and that all these guys are coming back with different numbers. They're all basically fighting over it. And he's like, oh, we got to, I'm telling them to calm down, to not be too loud. Here's, telling he would like to see the researchers' attitudes toned down a bit. I'm just trying to find the one thing where he talks about the horse race. Just go control, find horse. It's probably easier. Here we go. So he's like, this is this guy, Mador. He's a physicist. Does it say up here what he is? Anyway, he's a physicist or a teacher or something. And he got here, Mador likened this task to walking into a racetrack and getting a single glimpse of a horse running around the field. From just that bit of information, could somebody deduce where all the horses started from and to which one would win? And that kind of question may sound impossible to answer, but it hasn't stopped scientists from trying. So he's admitting it, and then he brings it back here and says, but he added that each result also depends on a large number of assumptions. Going back to the horse race analogy, Mador likened it to trying to figure out the winner while having to infer which horse will get tired first, which one will gain a sudden burst of energy at the end, which one will slip a bit on a wet patch of grass from yesterday's rain, and many other difficult to determine variables. So he's telling you that they're just making things up. They're just guessing. They're just estimating. There's nothing true about this, and that these guys want to go on and on. Get this. They tell you that space is expanding. Okay. What is expanding? What is space? The emptiness, vacuum. It's an absence of everything. That absence is spreading, is expanding. It's so freaking dumb. It's the whole same thing as gravity now is the bending of space-time. So they've just adopted this idea of there is something there that we will just talk about and say is expanding and say is bending and say is retracting and it's causing lensing, but it is not. But it is nothing. And look at us, and people are like laughing at us and thinking Simon Dan is smart. Why? Because he believes in the biggest fantasy story of all time. Anyway, go ahead, Jeran. Pull this back. And
he does have tattoos of other men on him, Jeran, as well.
I do follow men that do that.
He's got that.
I think that's the first men I look to follow. When I was talking about there's no male role models for me, I didn't think about Simon Dan. So there is one. There's one role model for me. But again,
I was showing Halton Harp research and lectures from the redshift.
But it's just showing you, and all these articles are basically the redshift blunder that has been obstructing cosmology for over a century. So again, when we say, I think redshift's been debunked, it's not the Doppler effect, and this guy's laughing at us. Why? Because it hasn't reached his mainstream beliefs yet, and all he can believe is what he's told. All right, go ahead. It's back to you.
Wait, I would like to just say this.
Spawn in the middle of a forest for no reason.
Sorry, go.
What Edwin Hubble says about it is if they're wrong about redshift, then it would mean that the universe is much more dense, much more local, and much younger, suspiciously young. And so that's what they're trying to avoid, is the fact that it would mean that what's in space is much more dense, fluid-like, and everything is much closer, and the universe is young.
And look at what they do. They name it axis of evil. Everything is about the fact that they're trying to keep us out of the center of the universe. And we call it science, and we think they're actually investigating things and doing research, but they're basing it all on philosophical models. We've told you 1,000 times. They're coming to the dinner table with the presupposition that the Earth can't possibly be anything other than a ball flying in a vacuum in space. So from there, whatever they come up with is nonsense.
And even a ball in a vacuum flying in space, that's not enough. It can't be near the center.
Yeah, I think
it's not directly at the center. That that's still horrible and unimaginable. But not even near the center. We can't be near the center. That would be unimaginable,
right?
In their eyes.
How could that possibly be true?
Yeah, that's why. Okay. Do you have a reason for that other than because that puts us closer to being created?
Well, they call it modesty. It's on the basis of modesty.
On the base, yeah, because they're always so modest, right?
Yeah, because they're the ones who know everything. They can actually see back in time, but they're modest.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, go ahead. You can watch a little bit more here. And then I don't know if we'll get to the title of today's show because I think
individual molecules that are present inside those galaxies to know which ones are going through star formation, which ones have ended their star formation, which ones have recently collided, what kinds of heavier elements are being produced in these galaxies. Again, it's this view right to the earliest moments of the universe when all of the more complicated galaxies that we see today were starting to come together. The second image is of an exoplanet, and we're going to need to manage expectations here because I'm sure when you heard that Webb was going to take a picture of an exoplanet, you'd be seeing like another Earth. But we still don't have a telescope that is powerful enough to be able to see another Earth with any.
You never will.
We may not, Bob, no, because they are so far away and so small.
Kind of clarity. The greatest telescope that we can imagine right now will show us nothing more than a single pixel. It'll be a really fascinating pixel, but still a single pixel. The target planet is called WASP 96b, and this is an exoplanet that's over 1,000 light years away from us. Webb was able to watch as the planet was passing directly in front of its star.
Now they show you this. That's not true.
6.5.
This is not a real image. They're showing you that and making you think that this is what they saw. They've also never seen suns as anything more than pixels.
But something passed in front of a pixel, right?
Yes, the
like
pixel.
Another tiny pixel.
Yes, pixel went in front of pixel.
It's a pixel dance.
Mm-hmm. Do-si-do.
Half hours long. And then they were able to take the chemical signature, the spectra of the atmosphere of this planet and work out what kinds of chemicals are in it. And once again, we get a sense of why this is such a dramatic increase from something like Hubble. Hubble can't do a 6.5 hour continuous observation watching the entire transit of a planet because, again, it's orbiting around the Earth. Sometimes its view is blocked by the Earth.
Notice how the Globebusters.
Can you pause it for a second there?
No. How the Hubble? It's okay. Well, I just going to say that it's pointed always outward from Earth. Maybe it lose the the point in space, but never is occluded by the Earth because Hubble never aim to the Earth, right? It's
right.
Always
away from it,
pointing out away from the Earth. Yeah, just that I want to say that.
And what did you say? Were you going to say something there, Zach?
Oh, I think Karen has a great idea. I was thinking about what she was saying about taking something and putting it. Well, I have the noble gases in test tubes. So is there some machine that they can take where I can just put these noble gases like 100 yards away and they can point their little device at it and tell me which noble gas is in what tube?
Or if you release it, right? Release it and then see if they can determine what you released.
Yeah, that would be even better.
I'd like to see that.
But yeah, I want to see this. I want to know how. Yeah, because I'm calling BS.
Let's not make it so easy
way.
and say it's just 100 yards. Let's have them do it at 10 miles. Since they can do it at 25 trillion miles, I'm assuming 10 should be easy.
Yeah, it should be no problem.
In fact,
I'm calling BS.
Do it on a plane as high as you can get and have them look from the ground and release the gas in the out of the plane and then tell us what it is from there. However far you go, they should be able to do it since they can do 25 trillion. And it's actually much, much more than 25 trillion. 25 trillion is the closest star. So I say that.
Use LiDAR. Use LiDAR, right? I mean, that's better. It's going to render a better image, more clear image than what they do anyway.
Yeah.
What you got?
Go. Go ahead,
Jumped in with an explanation. Interesting that they haven't. Their silence speaks volumes here.
And so it can only make partial observations throughout the entire transit. Webb, far away from Earth, can just watch the entire transit. And so
are they insinuating that Webb is just sitting there in static space? And if so, what about the velocities up into the millions of miles an hour of all the other bodies in the
we
heavens,
can stop it here.
that are whizzing around there? How does it contradict that?
They say Webb is the Lagrange
Here, you can
point.
stop it.
Is that the Lagrange point? Okay.
Yes, Bob. Did you not hear that earlier? A Lagrange point, by the way, is a location in space where gravitational.
There you go.
Yeah, but the Lagrange point
Santa Claus.
I'm getting tired of hearing him. Yes.
moves as well.
So
right?
wait a second. This
the
is what I wanted to
Lagrange point
see.
is going to move.
Wait, so L2 is a Lagrange point? How? How is that?
Nonsense.
What?
Nonsense.
That's weird. They don't make sense.
How would that be a stable orbit position?
Well, it is. Because it is. Because it's at the same distance of L3.
Thank you.
Because math.
I get it now. How dare I?
Doesn't cause any fluctuation.
I bet you're hilarious in Spanish, bro.
Yeah, he's got to be so funny. I
Hilarious
wish
in
I could
English.
understand it. I wish I could hear his show. He's got to just be so dry humor and just so sarcastic.
Dude, it's got to be so funny.
But unfortunately, we don't get to hear it. I just go over there and just comment in his chat, like say something like, La biblioteca está a la derecha de la piscina. And then nobody thinks it's funny.
Yo, you chill out, man.
It's the extent of my Spanish. The pool is next to the library.
Yeah, I go in and say hello in English real quick, and then
just show your face.
Nice. Just show support. Say I love you, Iru.
It's very nice.
But I don't understand a word you're saying, so I don't watch very long.
So when people ask us why we don't watch these guys anymore, this is why. I mean, it's painful and it's lies. And then if you look at that guy's comment section, every single person is like, you really handed it to them. They're such dum-dums and they think that they've debunked things and they haven't done it. And it's like, oh boy, it's and what did Simon Dan provide us there? What did we get from him? What did we learn from him? And you know how much money he makes on that video? Thousands. So why wouldn't you just keep doing it? Just keep coming out, make fun of people, keep saying personal incredulity. It's painful.
Right, and the YouTube loves to push those channels.
Oh yeah, that's what I told people. You want to make money.
Anytime somebody searches flat Earth, that's who comes up.
Don't care about your soul. Just do that. Just go and read from NASA's website. They'll promote you. They'll even put you at the front of the results. Look at
dude, Jeran, you could be driving a Lambo next year if you converted back to the ball.
I know.
And became one of them. I'm just saying.
I want to be like that guy that stands in front of the green screen and just talks so like, oh, and then this planet's this far away, and this one's this far away. Be very simple. You don't have to do anything.
Billions and billions.
Yeah.
Dude, imagine if Jeran came out tomorrow. I was like, I'm leaving the flat Earth. He had a story for it, dude. He'd get shot up to the top. Maybe we should all do that and then pull the rug off underneath and go back to flat Earth.
It's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
It's actually
RV would have us for dinner, dude. We wouldn't even get to the end of the game plan.
So I have let's see if I can bring it up on my screen here. If I can bring up my drawing pad, because I do have a question about what we're told.
I need to stop sharing.
Not yet. If you have anything else you want to show,
I need to go
you can
to the bath a little bit.
You're gonna go take a bath?
To my bath, yeah.
Okay.
I need to go to the bath.
Okay, go.
I don't need to explain that, okay?
No, don't explain it, please. We don't want to know any more than that. And I'll try and explain this because I think I have to draw it. I don't know if it will come across right the other way. All right, so I'll just try to explain. I don't know why my drawing thing's not coming up. So explain to me this one. So we know that if a plane leaves from the equator, right, that it's traveling 1,000 miles per hour, and they say that because of the angular momentum, the conservation of momentum, is that what it's called? That the plane takes off and keeps that 1,000 mile per hour speed. Let's just say that it's going in the direction of the Earth's spin so that we don't have to think about it going backwards. So it's moving to the east at 1,000 miles per hour. Now, if instead it takes off north, okay, and it goes north and it goes and lands up in Alaska, okay, the Alaska is only moving 400 miles per hour. So if I asked a glober, how does it go from 1,000 miles per hour to 400? And I think that they would tell me that because as it's traveling through the atmosphere, that each part of the atmosphere is traveling at the speed of the ground below it. So is that how it transfers the speed to the plane? How does the plane not get to Alaska and have to make up for that and have to figure out how did we land now that we are going an extra 600 miles per hour to the east?
Well, it would actually be even faster than that, right? Because like as you go up, it gets faster and faster because it's a bigger circle than the Earth is. But yeah, they would say that the Earth itself, the Earth's atmosphere, is moving with the Earth pretty much in lockstep, and so there's like an automatic adjustment, and when you adjust for wind and stuff,
okay,
that's going to be stronger of an adjustment. So yeah, just literally being in the atmosphere is their answer. Basically, gravity is a god and makes it look like the Earth doesn't move.
Okay, so here's my problem with that. Now, if I get up in an aircraft and I go out into space because I'm going to travel to Mars, I'm told that I keep the 66,000 miles per hour that I left the Earth with, because the Earth is traveling at 66,000 miles per hour. The moon is traveling at 66,000 miles per hour. And now I am too. Here's my problem with that. That calls into question all of gravity, because if I'm now able to orbit next to the Earth, going the same speed as the Earth, then really gravity has more to do with angular momentum than it does with the weight, because it has nothing to do with my weight. It has nothing to do with my mass. It just has to do with what I left Earth doing. Thinking that same way, let's say I start traveling towards Mars. There's no atmosphere. So there's nothing that's translating that speed to me. So if Mars is going, let's just say pretend, 100 miles per hour. I know it goes much faster now, but let's just pretend. How would I'm now traveling 66,000 miles per hour towards Mars. And at what point do I transfer to their speed system? There's nothing to translate it. So if you're going to say the atmosphere is what causes that plane to adjust its speed, then what is going on in space? Wouldn't something always have to be going the speed at which its angular momentum projected it? Which is just
you would be inside the gravity well.
What do you mean?
They're just giant gravity wells, and depending on your mass relative to the distance to the closest mass, you're going to be within their gravity well. So, like just being within that giant gravity well alone is going to keep you moving with the other bodies relative to your distance. I don't know if that answered your question, though, exactly, to be honest.
So I guess, okay, so you're saying that there's a area around the Earth that all that area moves 66,000 miles per hour.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then you travel, how would they know when you leave that area?
That's a good question. There'd be a formula for it, I'm sure, like mass relative to distance. But like, so there's like just a giant gravity well, and you'd have to get a certain distance away to get outside of that. Once you're in that, you're going to be moving. So basically, really, it's the gravity well of the sun, right? It's about your positioning in that gravity well relative to the sun. So if you're kind of close to Mars, then you're within the general area of the gravity well. It's going to keep you going around the sun. So there would be a slight difference based on distance, but it wouldn't be significantly great, to be honest. It would require immense distance.
Do you see what I'm saying here, though? That if you, let's say I'm halfway between Earth and Mars, okay? And so I'm going to be assigned some speed. I don't know what that is, but let's just say that I'm halfway between, I'm going whatever that gravity well calls for. But now I'm in orbit of the sun based on that speed. It has nothing to do with my mass and the sun's mass and the distance between us and all that, because clearly I'm just orbiting because of my angular momentum or because of whatever I was given. So how do they know? So wouldn't the entire solar system work that way? Wouldn't everything work that way? Meaning that everything's initially set out there. And so it has nothing to do with gravity. It would have to do with whatever you were projected at, whatever you were exploded at. When things explode out and they're at a certain speed, well, then that's their speed, because you're just moving through different gravity wells at whatever speed those items are. So it has nothing to do with mass.
Well, that's all relative to the gravity well, right? Like if we're going around the Earth in orbit,
okay,
yeah, we're going, say the ISS is going 17,500 miles per hour, but like that's just relative to the gravity well. It's free falling around it.
Okay, because it actually
so your
going
speed is
66,000
relative
miles.
to mass in their paradigm, right? I mean, like you would have to be going significantly faster to keep up with the Earth the further away you got from the Earth.
Right. So, but I'm saying, so that 17,500 miles per hour is the ISS compared to the Earth. Then the 66,000 miles per hour that the ISS is actually going is compared to what?
The sun.
Right. Okay. So it's compared to the sun. So then what I'm saying is if that craft gets up there, whatever craft we're in, and gets out somewhere away from the Earth, it's now continuing, it carries with it that 66,000 miles per hour. Right. It's just imparted on it, even though we're told that the plane is imparted that speed because of the atmosphere. But we just throw that away and say, no, now it's imparted on it because it's in a vacuum and it just happened to be taken off at that speed.
Well, it'll be kind of the same thing because they claim the atmosphere moves around because of gravity, right? No, I mean, it's a fairy tale physics, man. Like I don't know, I can't apply it to reality or anything like that, but
because the Earth doesn't. Yeah, it just seems to me to be such an issue. And Dave Weiss was telling me this morning, he was talking about how when you're flying towards the equator, when you're flying from the equator to the north and you pass the north, he's like, if you took 12 hours to make that flight, think about how now you'd be back to where you started. Think of a plane flying north from the equator, going up a certain line, but then it's rotating, and then you would get to the end of that, you'd cross the North Pole, and now you're going back to where you started. It's hilarious to me. All right. Well, let's, I guess we have 45 minutes if we want to nail some of these quickly beliefs that we formerly had.
I'm stop sharing.
Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead. Unless you have something you want to show.
Okay.
So I'll tell you. I'll tell you one that I have that I just don't say anymore. And again, it doesn't mean that people can say, "Well, I disagree with you, Jeran. I do believe in that." That's fine. I'm just saying things that I don't say anymore. One of those being, I don't talk about railroad tracks anymore, because I used to think that was good evidence that the Earth was flat. I said, "Well, nobody uses globe math to lay railroad tracks." But then I realized that if you think of the Earth being as big as they say it is, and think of it being a never-ending Home Depot, okay, so it's just a Home Depot as far as you can see on the entire Earth, that you would lay each track and then move to the next and move to the next. So there would never at any point would you need to take in the curvature of the Earth to lay railroad tracks, because that's not how railroad tracks are.
Yeah, there's not guys out there with right angles making sure that,
they just lay them down, and the tracks are only 20 feet long.
Consistently perpendicular. Yeah.
Right. So it's always going to be flat and level at each of those locations that you're laying.
And if they they change the Earth underneath it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the bridges also.
Mhm.
Same thing. Same thing, right?
I don't. I never. Not never. I don't say any more things like that was at the beginning of times when I enter into the flat earth. That, for example, that there is no direct flight from Chile to Australia or New Zealand. There is a direct flight.
Yep.
Yeah,
And I remember that the first clues from Mark Sargent saying that there is no direct flight, but it was always a direct flight.
Yeah.
Anybody
I
else?
haven't heard this one I don't think anybody even says this anymore. But this is one I used to say was, like 2015. Maybe it's flat, or maybe it's a way bigger ball than they're telling us it is.
I hear that a lot. So tell people why that's not a good thing to say, or why you think that's it's.
Yeah, I mean the sky. There's just so many reasons why that doesn't make sense to me anymore in my head.
The sky is one of them. I mean, the sky, the stars being the way they are, would be very difficult to explain on just a bigger ball.
Yeah. That's the big one for me.
The radius value, it would have to be much bigger on a ball, and that would change everything. Then that would change gravity and day and night cycle, and it would debunk the entire model, and then you still have the problem with, gotta explain why the ocean water is convex, and so like it being a ball doesn't answer their questions that would debunk it being a ball.
No.
You can't change the radius value and keep the model at all, that's for sure, right? Because literally gravity, day and night cycle, seasons, all that requires distances on the Earth. It all requires the R value.
Right. All of it falls apart if that's wrong, for sure.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else?
There's all kinds of them. Mine are kind of more like mine trigger people like now. They're real fresh. Like I don't think people should say that they know for sure Antarctica is an ice wall. They don't know that. I think it might be, but I don't think anyone should say that they know that it is. I don't think anyone should make any definitive claims that they know what the map of the Earth is. And most will say they don't, but they kind of push the map like it is. And they should kind of always throw that out there that we don't know the map. If you look at the quadrupole, it looks like there's a missing landmass. There's definitely more land than we know. We do not have an accurate layout of the Earth. They lied about the Earth. So why would you think we could map it out? That's ridiculous. They would be very inefficient liars if they did that. And then one that really triggers people, well, two of them, like saying that you just look in a different direction, and just looking in a different direction explains the motion of the stars in the south. And that doesn't do that. Like a 6 and a 9 on the cylinder, and you look on the other side of a road and the cars look like they're going the other way, or I stood in front of you and moved my arms in a circle and you're out in the crowd looking at me, it looks like the circle's going the other way, but that doesn't explain the stars that look like they all move in a circle around a central point in the south. Looking in a direction wouldn't change that. That would just change clockwise and counterclockwise maybe, but not around a central point. So it's not just east to west, it's in a circle. You could explain that with like a paperweight or a container. You can have concentric circles, put a paperweight over it. It'll make it look like there's a circle on the outside. That'll explain it. There could be a magnetic field with two separate sets of stars. There could be three sets of stars with like mirrored images on the outside of both sides of the middle stars or whatever. But
that's what I think. I think there's two rotations outside of the northern rotation, personally.
Yeah, it might be.
I mean, it
definitely
makes
the answer is not just looking at it in a different direction.
Right. If we have other poles, to me, it just makes sense to me. And, I don't know, but I'm not married to it. I could be wrong, but it's just the more I think about it, the more that makes sense.
And that's important. That's important to not be married to this stuff too much, because you have to remember we were lied to. So when we're out there investigating, we really are throwing darts at a wall. We really are just spitballing, if you will say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's okay to do. Remember, if we've been lied to, what else can we do? We have to.
And you know how many times we've learned something
that
has changed like everything?
Yeah, we can say the other one that gets really triggers people, man. Like, I don't think you can say that density alone explains why things go up and down.
No, and I used to say that, and then I kind of came to the conclusion that, once you realize that electrostatics is everywhere, which I don't think can be debated, at that point, then you have to say, well, it has to be involved in it at some point. It's not just neutral everywhere. And that was enough of the argument for me to take the position I take now. Which I still believe
it's important that it's just acknowledged that like everything's electric, and that's what holds the matter together, and there's an electric field on the Earth. And
there could be something else that we don't know about.
Right.
that we have no clue. That could be even more of a driving factor causing that vector. But we do
like
know
downward
the
etheric
way
pressure.
Yeah, something. But we do know the way electricity works, in all of the testing that we've done, and it's why, when you push the on button, stuff turns on. It's because we understand how electricity interacts with matter, and this is how it interacts. When you put matter into an electric field, if it's more dense than the medium around it, it's going to seek out low potential. Lower potential. That's just how it works.
I could talk for 3 hours about this topic, by the way.
I know.
I do this every day.
We'll take it right back.
Correct flutter.
Well, I do have a question about what you guys feel about the moonlight being cold, and I'll give my quick assessment of it. That when I did my experiment, it did show that, or my observation, it did show that it was colder in the open air. But I also chalked that up to, I said, okay, wait a second. If you think of a fence post being out in the full moon, the top of that fence post is going to be colder than the side, simply because the top of it is exposed to all the elements, whereas the side is kind of shielded. Think of a fence post kind of shielded from all the elements, and it's actually sitting, kind of sideways and not getting the same direct cold that the atmosphere. So I've never said that I think that for sure moonlight is cold. I do think it'd be easy to show. I think that if somebody got a magnifying glass or some sort of a Fresnel lens or something and was able to magnify the moonlight and put that onto a thermometer and just see if it causes the temperature to go up or down, I think that would tell us a lot. I just haven't seen a good experiment. You guys?
Well, I saw one where somebody measured the temperature of the ground, and it was like half of the ground was in moonlight and half wasn't, and there was a temperature difference there. I feel like that's a pretty good comparison there to show.
So what part of the ground did they show that wasn't in? Where was it at if it wasn't in the moonlight?
Ken Wheeler did it on his channel. He's actually done those a bunch of times. He'll do videos where he measures the moonlight.
And he has like a thermo camera. It's really neat when he does it. Yeah, it's not like he's got thermometers out there. He just looks through his camera and it shows you, oh, wow, it's actually cooler over here and it's hotter in the shade over here.
I've heard some pretty sufficient rebuttals for those. Like, my advice on that would be, it's possible maybe, but definitely don't claim it's definitive and that moonlight's cold. That's what I would say, because like even with the thermometers and the thermal imaging, it's like there are some decent arguments as to why it doesn't work. I've been in the heart of those. And
yeah, I've had some arguments that make sense to me too. That's why I think the magnifying thing would be, because there's just nothing behind that. There's just no way that can be just explained away if you're talking about here's the temperature, and then as soon as we put this magnifying glass there, now look at the temperatures going down. Well, how's that? It should be magnifying.
That would be a good experiment.
So
something else is like the flat earthers claiming that the compass just always points to like the central, really strong pull at the North Pole. That's not how magnets work. They use magnetic declination relative to your position locally. So it's like, yeah, I mean, magnetic declination is a huge home run for flat Earth, so we should absorb it and understand that point. Right?
What do you think about the guy that says that it doesn't exist? The guy that does the worldwide sailing?
Well, yeah, he was sailing way out there in the south, right?
Yeah, he says magnetic declination is used to hide flat Earth.
Okay, but there are magnetic field lines in a magnetic field. So, like, you can just look at a ferrocell.
It's possible,
we have
but it's still there. There's still magnetic declination, and you can measure it manually. I've done it. You can show what it is.
You mean you can, if you went out and looked right at the North Star and then held an actual compass, it would be off of north?
Yeah, mine was.
Yes.
Okay. I was trying to measure it because they say it moves throughout the year. It makes this big whooping circle around the North Pole. It's not like right at the North Pole. And I was testing that to see if it moved, and it never moved all year. I thought I did something wrong, but yeah, no, it was off the 4 degrees from northern Indiana or something like that, where it said it was, because I had these 2 poles lined up in my yard directly north and south doing sun measurement experiments. So that's what I measured it against right there, that line that I had. Perfect.
That's when I did it too. When we were doing sun tracking, and I just realized that you could manually measure the magnetic declination if you were tracking the sun long enough between like the 2 shortest parts of the shadow, and you measure it and blah blah blah. Like, but if you spend a few hours, you track the motion of the sun, you can manually figure out your declination for your area. So
yeah, something else is like honestly the biggest one for me right now obviously is the density thing. Like people are like, someone just said in the chat, like if it's heavier than air, it has to go down. Like yeah, you have to define weight. You know, like what is weight, and you have to acknowledge electrostatics. But another one is crepuscular rays, right? Where people like draw lines to the sun, and they're like, that's where the sun is. Like no, it's not. That's not where a physical object called the sun is. So I don't like that one. Someone can as easily, just like what flat earthers show, they could show you railroads that are parallel and they look like they're crepuscular. Now, the crepuscular rays we see on the earth do debunk their claim about the sun, but not the way that typical flat earthers say it. It's because there would be an even distribution of parallel rays across the entire sky. Therefore, you would have crepuscular rays all over the sky with no position preference of where the sun optically is in our sky. You would have crepuscular rays all over the place, converging in all kinds of different locations, just based on clouds and different obstruction. That's why the crepuscular rays don't really support their claim of the sun, but not because it's literally using geometry and trigonometry. You can go straight with these angles to where the physical sun is, right? Like that's not what it is, and the sun's not in the clouds, and so that one also gets on my nerves.
Yeah, the one in the clouds gets on my nerves. A lot of people say that. Oh, I've seen it. And yeah, because it's not a physical item. So what you're seeing is a manifestation or where it appears to you. And we know that this is true because if you got into an airplane or a hot air balloon or anything and went up, you know that the sun would not remain in the clouds. It would move up with you. And that right there tells you that what you're seeing is just from your point of view.
Also, the sun, speaking of that, sun behind the clouds, that gets me too.
Man.
I can't
So
stand
annoying.
that. The sun is never in the clouds. It's never in the clouds.
No,
ever,
it may
ever,
appear
never,
to be there.
Ever. It appears to be there, but like when people take pictures with their camera and like that looks like the clouds are going in front of and behind the sun.
Right.
It's just that the clouds have different density and your camera has different exposures. And so sometimes you can see this disk through the clouds and sometimes you cannot. And
I mean, we would
sometimes-
fly over the sun if this were the case. We
Yeah.
fly over the
Yeah.
clouds.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
They love when we say stuff like this so they can make us look stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're not saying you have to say things the way we do. What we're saying is that why we don't say them anymore that way, because it's very easy to attack. So it kind of refines your ability to communicate this stuff, and then it makes it easier for you to have conversations with people because you're not giving them softballs for them to knock out of the park.
Yeah, we have so many points. We don't need to bring up things that we're not certain about.
The biggest
Just
thing
keep
I have,
it simple.
People on Telegram constantly message me and say, I'm debating somebody in Facebook right now, and then they'll ask me the most rudimentary question. And I'm like, you, sir, should not be debating. Let me explain that to you. That we're not on equal ground with somebody who gets to use all of scientific knowledge as their fact-based, and then they want to debate a flat earther who's just got into this a year ago who doesn't quite know it. I mean, you're setting yourself up for a failure. It's not even a fair fight at all. And it doesn't mean that the globe earth is right and flat earth is wrong. It means that you shouldn't have to debate with somebody who's got a lie as their backing and is going to call it truth, right? You should be able to say, maybe there's 3 things, maybe there's 4 things that you bring up, and anything beyond that, go, I don't know. What do you want? You think I'm going to know everything when I've been lied to? It's okay to say that. It's okay to say you're a flat earther and there's some things you don't know. It's okay. You don't have to know all things.
Yeah, exactly. Like another one kind of falls under that is people say that they try to explain the tides and they claim that the moon does have something to do with the tides. And there's a correlation there, but it's because everything's a cycle. So like we live inside of a giant cycle. So the sun and the moon is a cycle, the stars is a cycle, the tides are cycles. That doesn't mean that the moon's physically doing something to the water. I actually think it's kind of like when you rub
You
your
mean the
hand
rooster
over the top
crowing
of a
doesn't
bathtub.
make the sun come up, Austin?
Say again?
The rooster crowing doesn't make the sun come up?
Yeah, exactly. Correlation and causation. Like if I had a bathtub and I moved my hand over the water real fast, it would make the water move without me physically touching it. I think that possibly like an ether drift could have something to do with it. And it's all within this giant vortexual cycle. But I just think that I hear a lot of flat earthers say the sun and the moon, cathode and cathode, or cathode and anode, and they claim that they know that the moon is physically doing something. Now there is definitely correlation. I think we can learn about the tides by maybe looking at correlation, but I don't like that one. That one's not as popular, but I think it just kind of fits into what Jeran's saying is we don't have to, it's okay to speculate.
Right.
Make sure
you say
that you point out that, we don't know the answer to this on speculatively. What I think could be the case is, and it seems tedious, but it's required because if you go around saying all these things that are clearly not true or it's just pure speculation that can be rebutted as if it's definitive fact, that's exactly the ammunition they need to make us look stupid. We don't need to do that. We can easily prove they lied about the Earth without any type of shaky foundation whatsoever.
Yeah, when people start telling me what the sun and moon are and not what they think it is, it's like, okay, whatever.
Bruh.
I think that's the trick too.
It's the stereotype of us.
Well, it's like the trick that they used is like they got there first so they could really say whatever. And then you're going up against their fairy tale. And if you don't have and like, let's say that the sun is unknowable. Let's say the moon is unknowable. Well, because they got there first and they've got a story that goes with it, people are just going to believe them at it. And then if you're trying to beat them with really what it is, to me, I think that now we're getting into a very difficult situation. We don't have the crafts. We don't have the years. Again, every single expedition, every single coastline that's been mapped, every map that was drawn by Mercator, all these guys, every Captain Cook journey, everything was government paid for, government funded, or king and queens of Spain. And they had all these resources, all these people. Like, we have none of that. Zero. We don't have any government funding. We don't have anything that's coming out of kings and queens. We have just some guys sitting at their computer at home. Now, this is what I think that they knew ahead of time. They just knew that it's going to be very difficult for these guys to ever come out and show that we're wrong, because we have all these things that we've done, and people will just look at that and be like, I don't think these guys could be right. It doesn't mean we're wrong. It just means that don't put yourself up like we are required to know the layout of the coastlines. That's ridiculous. How would we know that? How would we know the size of continents? How would we know? Again, these guys have just completely told you that they've mapped the whole Earth. Nobody's ever done surveying in the ocean. They just assigned it curvature. 70% of the Earth just assigned curvature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I actually remember digging through a bunch of declassified documents a while ago, and I found one that was like incredibly boring, and it was like pages and pages and pages of math that I couldn't understand. But when I read the summary at the end, it was basically that they were trying to map the bottom of the ocean, or they were trying to map the ocean floor, but the ocean floor, and they couldn't reconcile the surface of the ocean and the floor of the ocean. Like, it was inconsistent to them. It wasn't, it didn't make sense, but it basically made it sound like they gave up on it because it wasn't, they weren't able to measure it right. But I think but it sounded to me like it was because it wasn't measuring like a ball.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah,
I think
it's so
that the
flat
ocean
and
too, they
it's parallel.
say, and it moves.
Yeah.
It moves all the time. Like, they don't know what it is. It's almost like the floor of the ocean is just a collection of, matter. Like, what do they call it? It's just a collection of matter that always kind of goes up and down. They couldn't keep it; wasn't staying consistent. So how is the bottom of the ocean not staying consistent? I'll actually find out what it's called. There's like a layer. And remember, we heard that guy who went down and said he hit a layer of water on top of water.
Yeah, I watched this diving channel called Dive Talk. Don't know why. I'm terrified of the water, but I love watching these guys go scuba diving in caves and stuff. And they said at 300 feet in the ocean, the water changes and it gets real dirty and just real, like the salt content changes in the water down there. And then below that, it's totally different than above it. So it's only like 300 feet deep, which is deep. I mean, not many humans ever go deeper than 300 feet. I bet it's way less than 1%,
Yeah.
But yeah, they say at 300 feet, the ocean changes. There's something different about the water down there.
Here's a really big one.
Where it becomes like dark too, like the sun, there's no more light.
The sun doesn't reach.
I think that's between 400 and 500 feet where light no longer reaches down there. But don't quote me on that.
I kind of breezed past this one, but Jeran kind of touched on it. I kind of touched on it to really drive it home. Like, the map one really gets on my nerves. Like, I don't mind people, like, I have a jacket that has a flat earth map on it and I wear it. I don't mind if it's someone's logo or anything like that. It's Jeran's logo. And like, it doesn't bother me. But when people claim that they know the map, they need to know the map. There are some flat earthers that stick their chest out like, I'm working on a map, but you can't even figure it out and stuff. No one will know the map. You can't know the map. If you could figure out the perfect map of the Earth, then they did their job terribly. And yeah, they did go map out with the coastlines and stuff. They didn't map out the whole Earth. The whole trick was they gave you a bird's eye view of the Earth. This is not actually attainable in reality, though. So the whole trick is they gave you an illusory bird's eye view of the Earth, and now everyone thinks we have to replace the bird's eye view, even though it's actually impossible So you see how good their spell is.
Explain why it's impossible,
like,
though.
We could never. It's not possible. You can't do that. We don't have a bird's eye view, so we don't need one. Like, I'm interested in it. I want to know the quadrupole data. Well, if there must be a landmass over here that sustains it, let's look into it. Let's figure it out. Let's try to. The only way we'll ever figure it out is to glitch the system out where flat Earth takes over, and then we demand to know or to explore. But we can't know a map. We can't get a bird's eye view of the Earth. And yeah, it's cool for visualization purposes, but people need to always throw that disclaimer out there, right? Where it's like, but we don't know. And yeah, we can defend the flat Earth map against your lies so that we can show you that you're wrong even about that. But we don't know what it is, bro. I would bet everything I have, which is basically nothing, that we have no idea what the Earth looks like from a bird's eye view. So that's just my opinion.
I'm gonna play the
devil's advocate.
Jesuit
Don't advocate for the devil, bro.
Yeah. So what if this was all done out of care? You know, they put it. I know that sounds stupid, but just hear me out. Okay, say there is a dome. I'm gonna go back to the story of Nimrod, right? They had the whole world. He was dominated, king of the world. They found the edge. They tried to get through it, supposedly. Couldn't get through it. They tried to tunnel under it. Couldn't. Tried to break it. All that kind of stuff. Couldn't. That's why they built that Tower of Babel. So are they hiding it from us because they know human beings would not be content with being in something? That we would, again, eventually somehow build this Tower of Babel to try to get up there to see what's actually out there?
No. No, I think they're still trying to get out, bro. I think if you read their literature, they think they're the illumined. This sounds crazy, but they're crazy. They think that they're the illumined ones and that their body has a different composition of light than we do. And they track back to demigods and they want to find a way to get out of here, and that they inhabit outer lands and a lot of their ancestry was banished to the edges of the earth. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what they think. And I think that they want to try to find a way to get out of here. So no, I don't think it's any type of benevolent reasoning. That's
no, not anymore. Yeah. No, I'm thinking that they want to get out though. But wouldn't it be better if they had our help, like demanding getting out?
No, they think we're actually beneath them, literally.
Oh,
like they think
so
that
we're not allowed to even know.
Or we're just not
about
capable of it. They think we're stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're illumined. They call themselves the illumined ones that track back to demigods. That's what they actually believe. They believe they track back to Atlantean, antediluvian, and demigods. Like, I want to do a stream on it because most people don't believe me when I say this. I'm like, bro, this is what they say. This is what they think. They actually think that you are literally and physically beneath them. They have a different purity of composition of light inside them than you do. And they just think they look at you kind of like an animal, like you couldn't understand.
Yeah, one of these people called into Ironworks one morning years ago before I was ever on the show. And this is the reason, like the first time I called in, I think. And she was telling them, how dare you make fun of NASA, blah, blah, blah. We do this and we do that. She said she worked for NASA. And then she said she was one of the chosen ones. And they better not dare, blah, 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 anymore. And I could tell it like really shook the guys. They were like taken aback by it a little bit. And I called in and I just laid into her. One of the chosen ones. But yes, there are people out there, they believe that they're above other human beings.
Literally, yeah.
Literally. Like,
yeah.
Like you are above a dog. You know, like most people believe they're well above dogs and other animals. That's how they look at us, as chattel.
Yeah. I think they inhabit a different portion of Earth than us personally, but that's what I think.
So this is just I was looking it up exactly what it's called. So there is a layer of, they call it the twilight zone. So if you look up the ocean's twilight zone, and it's because they were doing sonar depth ratings, and it's everywhere in the Earth. So this is something that's accepted. That and sonar works like a bat signal, right? You send a little beam down, it bounces back, and it says when sonar became the standard equipment for U.S. Navy ships around 1942, operators were confounded with the unexpected acoustic signature that they called a phantom bottom. It appeared to be a solid plane from about 300 to 500 meters below the ships, in what we now call the mesopelagic or twilight zone. That's pretty deep below the depth that most submarines can travel, but nowhere near the actual seabed, which sailors have long known through lead and line soundings to be 4,000 meters down at certain places. So then it's talking about this author who says people at first took these readings for shoals or sunken islands and reported submerged land, but there was none there. The false bottom, however, is a global phenomenon. Sonar operators across every ocean report similar findings, indications of something substantial, miles wide in every direction, where no seafloor should be. More curious still as it moves. During the daylight hours, the phantom bottom remains steady, but as soon as night falls, it begins to rise, the reflected signal dispersing overnight before descending as dawn approached. So they've kind of come to the conclusion, and I don't know if this is true, that it's like trillions and trillions of animals, shrimp, stuff like that are like making up some bed of floor that kind of raises up to eat, lowers down. I mean, so they don't even know these things. And they expect us to know. They know what's going on 25 trillion miles away. They don't know what's going on 1,500 meters in the ocean.
They'll tell you what gases are going around the planet. And
you believe these people. It's embarrassing. Very embarrassing.
Yeah, it's weird. Like for sure, space would be way more dangerous than
anything else.
Yeah, and I was wrong. It wasn't 300 feet. It was 300 meters.
It's crazy. Yeah. Just insane. They don't even know what's going on. I mean, there's still so many questions, but we're supposed to believe these guys in the sky can just figure it all out. So, any other ones you guys can think of? Anybody in the chat have any that they?
Well,
think
there's
of?
one that people say that I find rather doesn't prove anything, and that's taking the level on an airplane. I know people love that, but I don't think taking a spirit level on an airplane.
It's the same as
proves the Earth is flat.
It's the same as the railroad tracks, right? So think about wherever you're at on the Home Depot. If the Earth was as big as they say, it's just a bunch of Home Depots. No matter where you're at, it would be level. No matter where you put down a level, it's going to be level. That ground right there is level. Where the problem becomes is when you start talking about over distance and the Earth is supposed to fall away from you. So yes, so anybody taking a level on a plane is not going to get it done. The one that I thought for a while was going to prove to be great evidence was when Rannick found the accelerometer on your cell phone. But then we found out what they do is they pre-program into it gravity. So your phone believes that it's falling right now. If it's in your pocket or on your desk, it believes it's falling at 9.8 meters per second squared. If you turned on the accelerometer, that's what it would say. So it's kind of a misnomer because what people were doing, right? If you set your phone and you kind of got the balance going and then you flew on a plane and then you landed somewhere else, if it's still showing that the accelerometer hasn't moved, people thought that meant that the Earth was flat, which I kind of agree, but I get what their thing is that no, it stays with the Earth down, right below it, like a plumb bob. Again, how are we going to determine that? They've programmed gravity going straight down into your phone already. See what I'm saying? So it's always going to adjust
down,
wherever you're at. It's going to be calling gravity straight down. Now, again, that works on a flat Earth. It just so happens that it's a great way to hide it from people who believe in the globe, because they're going to believe just like we do. We believe that everything goes straight down. We already believe that. We just don't believe that there's people upside down underneath us, with their down being my down. Wait,
I think it would be cool to take up a mechanical gyroscope and go on like a 12-hour flight with a motor and all that kind of stuff, like leveled out, and have a nice little apparatus set up to where you could just set it in front of you and see if, 6 hours later, whenever you're so many miles or whatever, if it processed how many it should have for the plane going over the curve, I think that one might work.
No longer believe the unscientific lies of evolution. Evolution, yeah, that's just a story. There's no evidence. They'll, most of them will admit that. According to what's his name, Richard Dawkins, he says we don't need evidence of evolution because we know that it took place.
The easiest way to debunk evolution for me is like the idea that these animals are evolving. Like you need a brain and a heart and a lung to survive, for example. Like,
right.
How did you go where you developed a lung but you didn't have a brain? How did you survive to get to the heart and the brain and then each portion of the lung and the brain? How did it survive so that it could keep evolving? It could never do that. So
it's like all the poop that you had just came out your lower intestine until it lengthened the length that it needed to get. So over generations, just people were just all their feces were going inside their body until it evolved to have the entire.
You don't need that, man. You just need to watch the chapter from South Park, and you're gonna have right there the explanation.
Wait, I don't think I've seen South Park on evolution.
South Park.
Oh, you've never seen Mr. Garrison explain evolution?
God,
man,
so.
That's the best.
I don't think I've seen it.
The best. Yeah, no, there you have it.
I'll check it out.
That's no doubt. After, be careful, man. because after
I'll believe it. After
you see that,
I'm gonna
there
be
is
all
no
in.
way back. Okay,
There's no
you
coming
cannot
back.
turn back.
Oh boy, sounds fun. Eva, you have any that people say in the Spanish community that
Well,
you have to dismiss?
Well, we just finished all the tour from Flat Earth Conference, and we are very active. There is a lot of people new people entering in the Flat Earth topic, especially in Telegram and other. For example, the radio show that I am part, which every Thursday. It's a really big talk show in Twitch from Spain. At the beginning, the people, like the past year, when we trying to bring the topic of flat Earth, everything was very, close-minded, and nobody wants to hear about it and things like that. And now there is a lot of people asking me directly, and we have a few debates. Especially we have one with an astronomer from Spain, and the guy was in his office with the big telescope in the bag and things like that, but it was really poor in terms of quality and in terms of the content. He trying to mention all the time the ISS, that he saw a moon eclipse in Jupiter, and that proved that the heliocentric model is right because he made a prediction, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But that is a indirect, if you want to see it that way, an indirect reaction after there is a lot of people asking about the flat Earth, and the movement is growing very, very fast. In fact, the last week I gave a talk here in Switzerland, which again was like 80 people in the room, and that kind of things don't happen. I don't know how to say in the past, but never happened in the past here in Switzerland. Yeah.
So David gave me a couple of them. I don't hear these much anymore, but the idea of pour a bunch of water on a basketball and then it falls off, and that being proof that the Earth can't be a globe, that's not taking into account what they believe, right? So that is a bit of a straw man. They believe that the center of the Earth is pulling things towards it. So therefore, us pouring water on a basketball is nothing close to what their actual belief is. That's one. And then what was the other one, Dave? I'm trying to remember. You said something else. So was that one? And the horizon rises to eye level is one where it's not really the case, because as you get higher up, we do know that the horizon is harder and harder to see. It's not an actual location, right? So if it was a physical location or something, then maybe you could say that, but you can't say that. It's always the same distance below your eyes, always.
Well, it seems to optically rise towards eye level, just never to eye level, because you're going higher above the ground, which is the cause of the optics.
Right.
That's what I would say.
But to say it rises to eye level,
I mean, you could say it optically rises towards your eye level, right? I mean,
yes. Because when you say that, then they go up in a plane and they show that it's a little bit below level. But again, you're looking.
Yeah, because you're going higher above the ground.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're going above.
And you also need to take into account that, which is very important, the orientation of the camera. You need to see from outside how the camera is oriented, because the small angle change, pitch down or up, is going to change the horizon level. It's not. You know what I mean? Yeah, for example,
wherever the center of your camera is pointed, that's going to be where your horizon is.
Exactly, and it's very difficult to keep aligned, and especially if you're going to use video footage from agencies or people that you are not you cannot see from outside. For example, the Felix Van Garner jump was setting up in that way, that the horizon using plus the fisheye lens was very, very pronounced curve in the horizon, not just a little bit of fisheye lens. The idea was creating this spherical massive Earth, and that was created via the orientation of the camera, pitching a little bit down in terms of the angle. So it's something that for me is more important, not the eye level, but how much you can see in the distance. Like, for example, the J-Toll
see too far
observation. Yeah.
But I do think that it has a lot to do with perspective, that we cannot see far because we know that anything in the distance gets smaller. And at some point, anything you can possibly imagine is going to be too small to see. So if that is the case, then when you're talking about it's not going up to your eye level anymore, it's because there's a limit to your sight, right?
Yeah.
So that limit becomes
Well,
the
yeah,
line.
and the further it gets away, the larger that band will become. The
Right.
diffraction, Fraunhofer diffraction band.
Right, which
That's one of
becomes
those things I would
hard to
like
see.
people to say.
Yeah.
Is Fraunhofer diffraction, and go look into that. When you're arguing with people about boats going over a curve, yes, atmosphere does this. There's all kinds of things that can, but that Fraunhofer diffraction would take place in a vacuum. It will take place. It's why things, disappear on that little line.
What is the name of that? Can you write in the chat
Yeah, I'll
section
put that
so
in
I
the
can
chat.
share with
Yeah.
Spanish community?
I used to call it, what was it, Jeran? I remember you corrected me on this years ago.
I forgot what it was called or what you called
I think I was calling it Aries diffraction, because
Okay.
the Aries disk is what causes the diffraction pattern to take place. But yeah, there's two types of diffraction. There's Fresnel diffraction and Fraunhofer diffraction. Now, the Fresnel is like if you look at your hands and you can't see the cells in your hand. It's because they're too small. They're below 0.02 degrees, and the human eye can't, see anything smaller than that. Well, Fraunhofer is when you're looking at infinity, beyond as far as you can see. And where the sky and the ground meet, eventually all that information and data gets so small along that center line right there that it just jumbles together. At only 3 miles, the human eye, it's like 5.5 feet that we cannot make out. We cannot resolve 5.5 feet along our line of sight, due to this Fraunhofer diffraction. And that's physics. That's how the aperture works in a camera, in a telescope, the human eye, anything with a circular aperture.
Which is
and
everything.
then there's
I said, which is everything. Pretty much any imaging.
everything. There's a couple cameras, but then they have diffraction limits for those as well. And on the square one, it's interesting because it will do 2 diffraction lines, not just one across the horizon, but one running up and down vertically as well, right through the center. But with the circular one, I'm not sure why, but there's only one line, and it runs, east to west, right along your point of view. That's where your most distortion will be due to this phenomena. It's an optical phenomena. It can't be overridden. There's no digital way of getting around it. This is an absolute when it comes to optics. This is where that whole Rayleigh's criterion equation comes in. This is what it comes up with. Yeah, it's just this is when I stopped. Once I figured that out, and I tried looking into how the atmosphere can manipulate things, then it gets crazy. Like, yeah, trying to guess what's happening, every meter of the atmosphere from here to 10 miles away. Good luck with that. You can spend the rest of your life studying that stuff. No way.
Let me give an example of this is just the kind of nonsense we're up against. So have you guys ever looked at Walter Bislin's site?
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to play with. So he's got this little calculator. Oh, let me share my screen so you guys can see. Did I put it here? Let's see if everybody can see that, and then I'll share. No, let me put it over here instead, and you guys can see it then. I'll share my screen. Share, and that one. So you see Bislin's calculator here, or you see this on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just get over here and see if we can get that up here. I gotta add it. I'll just put it in real quick. This, and then I gotta grab window share. I only have to do this because you guys are here. Otherwise, I can usually have it do this on. Yes, that one. Okay, and transfer that. All right. So now everybody can see it. So this is you can go to. I forgot what site it's at. It's here we go. Walter.bislin.ch, and he's got all these little calculators things here. You can look at Chicago. You can look at different things that we found here. Soundley's bridges. Of course, if we go to Canigou, which is one of my favorites, and if you see, he starts going through these mathematics here. He's talking, he's saying, okay, we're moving it back this far. And you'll see he's basically going to where I've shown that from 1,000 feet up, you can see, says we're currently at altitude of 1,000 meters, which is a problem because the altitude that we see from photographs is 1,000 feet. Okay, so he's zooming in, and then he's going to show here. Let's go to a hill in Auch, France. So 244 meters altitude is about where I was talking about, 1,000. Then he says, according to some curvature calculators, we should not be able to see the mountain. According to all curvature calculators, not some. There's no curvature calculator that's wrong that says you can see it. Then he says, yeah, it's now hidden behind the curvature of Earth. Yeah, so what happens? So then he's going to say, but according to some pictures, we should be able to see part of it, which you can see most of it. It sits there when the sun's setting behind it. Now he's just showing you maybe refraction plays a role. So he's just moving the refraction dial here to where it appears, and then he says, standard refraction raises the mountain relative to the horizon 672 meters. It's 1,800 feet. How can that be? The refraction angle is 0.194. Yeah, of what you just moved with your dials. The angular size of the mountain is only 6.622 degrees. So the mountain is raised 31.2% of its height, 8,669 meters. But the horizon raises too.
Good luck with that.
So the raise relative to the horizon is blank. What do you mean the temperature gradient?
No. First of all, this is not a ray trace simulation.
Right.
So he's just transferred data into so-called refraction and then just move numbers.
Look at this. Now
This
says,
is
on
not
the real
any
globe,
optical simulation, nothing like that.
He's like, on the
That's
real
the first
globe,
thing.
there is no problem to see Mount Canigou. Well, of course not.
No,
if you've taken it and reversed it. Go ahead.
I just want to finish this line. We are waiting to see a real experiment / observation of the phenomena called refraction, lifting up occluded object in the lab.
So what does he mean by this when he says, but the horizon?
They claim they do that. They use like butane or something.
No, I haven't, and I explained it, and that is the orientation of the camera. The object never disappeared totally, and they just create like a thick layer of water on top of the butane. I have it here if you want to, I can share it, but it's not the case. But that is a trick thing.
Correct.
It's not, the object is not, first of all, the camera is not aligned with the butane tank. It's underneath, pointing from bottom to up. They create we don't live with butane in the air, so it's completely insane.
Right.
I agree.
What is he saying here when he says that the horizon rises too, so the rays relative to the horizon? So if the horizon rises, which is the line that we see, then why wouldn't they understand that could cause boats to go behind the horizon? Like if they can't just use it when they need to. Like, oh, here the horizon rises, but then when we see boats go over and we say, well, they're not actually going over an edge. They're like, no, that's the horizon. They went over it. Well, I thought refraction raises the horizon line, but they don't.
Well, what they say is you couldn't have now what they've turned their argument into is you couldn't have a horizon unless the Earth was a ball.
That's ridiculous.
That's what they actually claim.
Go stand in a foggy area and you'll notice that you have a horizon that's about 100 yards in every direction. It's the same thing. So that's the end of your ability to see. And that's,
yeah. They say that it wouldn't be a hard, distinct line across the street or the sky. It would be like this gradual, grayish.
Correct, unless you're talking about the ocean. When you're talking about the ocean, it's because at a certain point you're getting that reflection of the sky, which looks exactly like what's really behind it, right? So that it becomes a picture that looks like a hard line. And how do we know it's not? You can zoom in on it and see like all the little choppy waves. You've seen that, right? When you zoom in on right at the horizon line, there's like all these, you know that the waves aren't that tall. What it is it's just the end of the image projecting itself to you in a coherent way. Everything after that is a mirage. It is a mirage. But what is a mirage? It's basically the reflection of what's behind it. Well, that's water. And what's above it is the sky. So then it turns into looking like you're looking at a hard line with sky behind it. At least to me, that's what I see it as. And I see it as
that's cool. Yeah, I mean, the reason they say that is, of course, first they said boats go over the horizon, that debunks the globe. Then we zoomed in, brought the boats back. We're like, no, that's not the case.
Right.
Then they turned around. We're like, we debunked the geometric horizon. Look, we see way too far from the height that we're at over the ball. It should be here. It's not here. Then they said, oh, well, we never see the actual curve of the Earth. You never see the actual curve of the Earth, the actual geometric horizon. You never see it. And now they've changed it to, oh, well, because then I say, well, then how do you know it's there? If you've never seen it, how do you know it exists? And what they say is, well, the only way it could exist is for there to be a curve. We wouldn't have a horizon on a flat Earth. So it's not like they made some logical deduction. They were like, oh, okay, you wouldn't have a horizon on a flat Earth. It's like what the conversation over the course of the years has resulted in. They're now required to say that you couldn't have a horizon on a flat Earth. So That's in the trenches. That's like the anti-flat earthers day in and day out, hours each day, credentials, working 20v1. You know, it's the best they got. So it's
this here. I'm just looking at this. So this is now the flat Earth versus the globe Earth perspective, I guess. And there, he says here on the flat Earth, the whole mountain should be visible, but it's not in reality. You have to remember that, again, we're talking about this mountain is 175 miles away, right? So to think
so
that
angular resolution means nothing.
Right. I mean, you're never going to be able to resolve what's down below. And plus, as I've shown, Dave Weiss has shown, that all you need is a magnifying sheet or a magnifying glass, lay a blanket down in your garage, put some buildings at the end of it, and then lower that magnifying glass till it hits the ground. And you'll notice that what's right behind the magnifying glass, so the blanket that you laid down, will now occult the buildings at the end of the blanket. Why is that? Because the magnification, the lensing effect, is lensing what's right behind that atmosphere that you're looking through. What's right behind it? Water. So this explains like Chicago. The big thing about Chicago that I don't think people grasp is you shouldn't see any buildings. Now, the argument from their point of view is, well, how come the buildings are occulted? How come the buildings have water blocking them? And that's all due to lensing. It's the fact that you're magnifying what's right behind the atmosphere. What's right behind that atmosphere is more water. So the water is being lifted up and covering the buildings far in the back, and you can do this in your garage for yourself today. Just put it.
Yeah, I've taken so many shots of those buildings and seen different amounts of the buildings almost every time. It always changes. Right, so it's not, you can't say that it curved more this day and it curved less this day. You would say, no, it's not curved at all, and the atmosphere can really distort what you're seeing.
And the atmosphere tells you everything, because again, for me, if it's during the winter, I can just look out my house towards the east and see the Sierra Nevadas. They're there. But if I go out there during the summer, they're not there. It's as if they're, because you just see atmosphere there. Well, why is that? What is going on there? So if I tried to pull out a telescope and look at the mountains during the summer, that's not going to help me. The telescope can't fight through the atmosphere, right? So
no, it's like saying it would be able to see through a wall.
Right. So that's why when you hear like Bill Nye say, why can't we see Spain from the east coast of the United States? It's the dumbest argument that there's ever been. That is the worst amount of air that you would ever look through. And then what is on the side of Spain that would be big enough that you would see it from 2,500 miles across? There's nothing. Nothing at all. Just like we can't see this mountain. It's 175 miles. We can barely see it, right? So if you went to 500 miles, is there anything on Earth that you're really going to see from ground level? Never. You're looking through way too much atmosphere.
Well, yeah, this camera I was talking about earlier is supposed to be able to see a golf ball at 15 miles. That's its angular resolution limit. That is phenomenal. Now, why is this thing going to the top of a mountain and not to the shoreline first to prove the Earth's curvature?
Yeah, I still am shocked at that.
Perfect.
But all right, any last ones, or we can shut her down. We've been doing it for 3 hours here. So yeah, again, this is walterbislins.ch. But again, you have to remember that he's taking, like Eber said, it's very easy to take observations and then cook these lines until they match and then say that that's what's going on. I mean, just keep going with these until you get to where it is what it appears to be. And again, look at this. This is showing you what you should see from the globe perspective, which is nothing. But however, we do see, and the thing that bothers me when they say it is they say, oh, that's only the top of Canigou. It's like, how much of the top? You shouldn't see any of it. It should be thousands of feet. And I just don't understand where he's getting this. I've never even seen it say object lift relative to the horizon, object lift absolute, horizon lift. Are they saying that? I don't know what they're saying here. Refraction angle. It's just funny.
What they're trying to say is that there is so many ways to lift an object because they don't have one.
Yeah, could be this, could be that, could be this.
They need to start putting all these.
Yeah, just.
We can't name it all one type of lift, so we're going to break it into like 4 or 5 different types of lift.
And again, there is no lift. There is no lift. Refraction only interact with what is already there.
And if you look at Canigou, that you see that it doesn't move. It's not like
no, and we are talking about hundreds of meters. Yeah. We are not in the Bhutan tank experiment, which is something that I really trick. It's something to cheat. It's just 2 millimeters. You need to, if you want to, for example, trying to show that the refraction lit object, you need to put the jar I don't know, 1 meter, 30 centimeters
10 centimeters occluded by the tank. No, they just lift the tiny part of. Come on, man. We are talking hundreds of meters in some of the cases.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me because, again, if this were any kind of a projection or any kind of a shadow, like these guys want to say, then from the second that you see the mountain, it would start to move. And if you watch it, this mountain does not move. So you see it starting to appear here, and you'll notice.
And it's not distorted.
Not distorted. The reason it doesn't move is because it's the mountain. It's not.
And
being
it happens every
up.
year.
It's not being lifted up. It's not being, what do they call it, looming, super looming. And if it was, what is it doing sitting right on top of the horizon anyway? That'd be weird, right? So their only other example of these is when they show you a boat that is sitting up in the air and they tell you that it's being loomed, but we know that that's not what's happening there. The boat is actually on the water, right? So there's a pretty big chain, but I mean, you'll notice these mountains are not moving. This is not at all a mirage. It's not at all a projection.
Refracted image, yeah.
It's just
nonsense.
What's called a silhouette. A silhouette happens when because this doesn't have enough light to break through all the atmosphere and show you itself. When it's here, the reason is there's not enough light here. It's not strong enough to project its light to you.
And maybe if someone can have this video observation, but with the HDR camera, you can have that. Maybe you can see the mountain.
Yeah, maybe you can. I would love to do it. We should do a trip there. Everybody go there. It'd be awesome. I don't know the exact date when it is, so this is on February 4th. But I mean, this is all the evidence you need. If people don't know, this is the mountain that is supposed to be thousands of, even if you go to the, what's the guy's name? Mick West's calculator?
In fact, you must have some, changing in altitude. If there is the case, when for example, when the sun starts going down, for us it's far away, but for them it's going down, you must have this appearance from nothing, and the mountains start lifting up a little bit. But there is not that the case.
I bet there's years and years and years of these photos as well. It
happens every year. Yeah, twice a year. Twice a year happens.
So they should all be a little bit different, right? Mountains should look different. There should be different amounts of the mountains
because
from year to year.
Refraction cannot be the same always.
And I've never seen a picture of the moon going behind it, But here, looking at this, you'll notice that they move the refracted up to the top as if it's guaranteed, like as if you can just assign 7.6R to every observation. That's just what you get. Because if you look at the geometric results, which has no refraction, you'll notice that we're talking about a drop of 20,000 feet, right? So the hidden amount is 12,000 feet. Again, that mountain is only 9,000 feet. So how are we seeing, this one, 9,000 feet is the entire mountain, and 12,000 feet should be hidden. So really, this much of it is behind the curve. Yet we're told that this is just lifting it up somehow right to where the horizon line is. Like, why wouldn't you just see the mountain floating up here by itself? That's what they show you when you look at Canigou Explained. Like, so Canigou Explained, and they show these little cartoons, and like this one here. Okay, so this cartoon shows you the mountains sitting up in the sky. That's what we're supposed to believe. And it just so happened that it just rose just to the point. And look how they drew this red line here. That's what they're telling you you're looking at. They're saying you're actually only seeing these little tippy tops of the mountain. But you can go draw it out and see how much
in the middle of the air.
Right. It's just ludicrous. It's ludicrous. And then they just get to call that truth.
Go ahead. Sorry. I'm just saying they make people believe that refraction makes you think you can see something that you can't, that's something that's not there.
Right.
Refraction refracts light that is visible. If the light's refracting, it's there. If you can see it, it's there. If it's distorted, it's because you can see it and it's there, and it's distorted because of refraction. You can't see things like that aren't there due to refraction. If you see it, it's there. The refraction is only going to distort what you're seeing. That's what people need to understand.
So funny to see them just grasp at these things, just trying so hard to explain it away any way they possibly can. They basically say, like, it's just, look at this. It's like, what you're seeing here is just the very top, which is not the case. They're forgetting that mountain is basically also squished just due to, that's how things work when you're looking off in the distance. Nothing is portrayed exactly as it is. And they just make it seem like, oh no, it's not squished. You're actually just seeing just these little tippy tops when it's not the case. I've shown before, you can take the Google Earth image of it and spread it out and show exactly what you're seeing. They just have to make excuse. And even their excuse, when they start explaining it from there, oh, well, you're only seeing this part, they're forgetting the main point, which is you should see none. Same thing with the buildings in Chicago. You should not see the buildings in Chicago. That's why they call it a mirage. They can't tell you. And then if you try and say, well, we can see them, they say, well, how come any of the buildings are occulted? If there's a mound of water there, then it means that there must be blockage. But again, for me, still, the number one evidence that I've ever seen that tells us that there's no curve is the mirror flash. Because a mirror flash, I've gone out and tested it myself. If you have somebody take a mirror, like a little bathroom mirror, 12-inch mirror, whatever, go out with somebody else and try and flash lights at each other, or have one person flash it towards you, and watch what happens the second that mirror is covered by any obstruction. Okay, I mean anything. You just get behind a car a little bit, it shuts down everything. You cannot see any of the flash. You can't see anything. Okay, it has to have line of sight. So when you have people 18 miles across the ocean and somebody's holding the mirror at ground level and somebody 18 miles away can see the flash of light, then it's impossible that there's a 175-foot mound of water between you two. Period. End of story. It's literally impossible. It's not like a laser, because a laser, I kind of get the Glober explanation for that. They're just saying, oh, when you see a laser, you don't know that that's the actual source of the laser. It could be the moment that the laser goes up over the curve, and that's what you're seeing, and you're just assuming it's the source. Okay, I'll give that to you. Same thing does not happen with a mirror. With a mirror, you're not shooting a light beam across the ocean. When somebody sees that flash, they have to actually have line of sight to the mirror. Period. So I think that's one of the best ones that there is the mirror flashes, because there's
the heliograph. That's what that is.
Heliograph.
The heliograph.
And they've done huge distances across from mountain to mountain. But if you just go down to the water, and you don't even need to do that much distance, right? Do 10 miles. What is 10 miles? 66 feet?
66 feet.
Right. So 10 miles, if you have somebody just standing, and you can even take your tripod with 66 feet, take your tripod, put a camera up 6 feet high, 4 feet high, whatever. Take somebody to the other side, have a mirror, and the mirror could be, a 2 feet mirror, a bathroom mirror, doesn't matter, and just have them go down to the water's edge. And then have them, the sun setting behind the camera side, and have them flash the light as much as they can. If you know the direction they are and you can pick it up with your camera, immediately you know the earth is flat. Immediately. Because there's no way, if there's a 66-foot, and let's say you are 4 foot high and the other person's 2 feet off the water. Okay, so then take it down to 40 feet, 30 feet. How are you able to see a flash of light if the mirror that you're looking at is obstructed by 30 feet of water? And again, to prove that to yourself, go out in your front yard today and just have somebody stand behind a car. And when you can see the mirror, you can see the flashes of the sun. The second that mirror falls behind the car, you see nothing. You don't see a beam coming over the car. You don't see a little glint of light. Gone. Because what you're actually seeing when you're doing that is the reflection of the sun off the mirror's surface, not any kind of traveling light.
Exactly.
So if people do that test, then really you don't even need to do anything else. And so you should be able to find a good 10 miles across water. And that's a pretty easy sight to see. But again, when we do it with lasers, the problem is that they're just coming back and saying, oh, well, the laser, how do we know that that's not the light the second it gets over that 60-foot, 30-foot hump? And you're like, okay, well, you're probably right. It would be hard to know that. But with the mirror flash, all you need to do is prove that you can never see a mirror flash if it's obstructed. And that's it. And then when you see the mirror flash, you immediately know the answer to that is it's not obstructed. If it's not obstructed, then there is no mound of water, as we know, between two people across a body of water. So, all right, let's go around and say our goodbyes. Iru, you have anything to say? And thank you for being here today. We appreciate it.
Iru dropped out. He said goodbye to everybody, but it was getting very late, and he said,
I still see his little,
love you, goodbye.
I see his little circle, though.
Do you? I saw it say Iru Landucci left, and then he just put in chat as well.
Oh.
Guys, sorry, I need to leave.
All right, tell him he's fired.
Okay.
All right, Zach, and you?
Yeah, just recouping after Flattoberfest. Got some new toys donated already, so I'm getting excited about some new, the one triangle that floats up in the air when you put a negative charge to it.
Yes, the
one David likes to show. Yeah, just a little aluminum foil with toothpicks. I'm building that thing here real soon. I want to try it. Never done it before, but now I have a generator that can produce a lot more oomph on the low potential side. So yeah.
Okay, and Karen?
I will just be going back to my regular schedule. So I'll have coffee talk tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, and then Strange World with Mark Sargent on Tuesday. And I'm starting to also publish people's talks from the live stream from the event on my channel to everybody. So you can keep an eye out for those. And I'm also going to be having the high resolution filmed version with the good sound and everything. I haven't got all that stuff back from the video guy yet. So later on, we'll be releasing all the footage from that and the background footage from Flytoberfest, interviews with people and stuff. So just keep an eye out for that. That's it.
All right. And Mr. Whitsitt.
We got a virtual summit coming up with some guy. I forgot who I'm doing it with, some dude.
Jerk.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The guy who writes emails when he's falling asleep and then looks at it later like, what the hell's going on with that? We gotta fix that.
So we got that coming up, of course, 11/11/11/12, and then took a few days break. I was doing some stuff at the house, trying to get a bunch of this stuff figured out, and then I might be trying to figure out how to get somewhere I can put my content without it getting deleted. I did a stream on Elon, and it got taken down like immediately.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't even get to see that one. It was just gone.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to look into that. So get some like safe space for the for the content. And yeah, I'll be doing a lot of streams this week, and that's pretty much it. I got some pretty epic interviews that I'm gonna be announcing here soon that are people that are gonna come on the show. So that'll be cool. And I have a plan to do some other appearances. So yeah, pretty much.
Any more Sunday shows?
Yeah, I didn't get to do it this morning, but yeah, I plan on doing Sunday shows like from here on out every Sunday.
I got my robe out.
Oh, nice. Biscuits and gravies and the robes. You don't got to be a Freemason to enjoy the robes.
Don't make it weird.
So yeah, a lot of content coming. Yeah, don't make it weird, bro. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And TEMMS.live or be lame.
Yeah, we're excited about it. It's gonna be awesome, and hopefully you guys, support just us and the creators. I mean, they're also getting supported, so we kind of crafted it that way for a reason, and excited to see what's going to come about. So I'll be busy for 2 weeks with that, but also I'm kind of going to a schedule, so I almost hit it this week pretty well. So Wednesdays I'll usually have something. Either it's going to be more of the NASA Comedy Hour like I did this week. Then Thursdays there'll be Speaker's Corner. Fridays will be my show. Saturday I'm busy with consultation, stuff like that, and then Sunday busy with this show. So kind of going to stick to that schedule and hopefully see a few more eyes on it. And if that doesn't work, I quit. No, I'm just kidding. I'll still be here. But I think that's about it. Any other final words? Anybody? Oh, wait.
We missed you, Bob.
Yeah, Bob, get better.
Feel better, man.
Tomorrow is Monday. Yeah, tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Pacific. I know it's late and not available for Eastern people, but I'm going to be having a conversation with allegedly Dave. So just, that'll be on my channel, and that's tomorrow at 10 p.m., which is like 6 a.m. for him. That's the only time we could really meet up for something like that. So that'll be Monday. And then Wednesday. Oh, Wednesday is a big day. Wednesday, we've got David and I have Peggy Hall on. And then after that, I'm on with the Jeff Doherty on the Christian Whistleblower show. So I think that's about it. Busy week. Any final words, guys? Oh, today's Monday for you? Sorry. I always forget that. Time traveler, you. Oh, Bobby's listening. All right, Bob, we missed you. Come on back and take over for me so that we don't have to worry about me not being able to show shit and people hear it. All right, that's it. All right, guys, it's been fun. I remind you guys, do your own research. When you do, you'll never get... Oh, no, that's not the one we use for this show. What is this one? Open your mind, there's truth inside. Yeah, be kind to each other, don't lie to each other. And open your mind, there is truth inside. We'll see you guys next week for another fantastic Globebuster show. Until then, this is Jeran from Jeranism. Peace.
Peace.
And I don't have an outro ending. No,